Hello guys, welcome to Cross Naruto. So in this video, we will see what if Naruto was the primordial dragon god of Olympus, the forgotten twin of Zeus. Naruto x Hera x Aphrodite. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 2, Trials of Divinity. Naruto materialized on Olympus in an explosion of golden light, the celestial lance gripped firmly in his hand. He arrived in the main council chamber, which was now empty except for Hera, who jumped to her feet when he appeared. "You're back," she said, relief evident in her voice. Then she spotted the lance, her eyes widening. "And you found it?" "Yeah, turns out it was in the sacred mountain of the Toad Summons all along." Naruto spun the weapon experimentally, golden energy trailing from its tip. "Pretty cool, right?" Hera approached cautiously, studying the weapon with awe. "The celestial lance. I've only seen it in ancient depictions. It's said to be one of the most powerful divine weapons ever forged." "So I've been told." Naruto let the lance transform back into the dragon-scale armor on his arm. "Those Void Walker things have started showing up in my world. The toads are holding them off for now, but we need to seal the breach." Hera's expression darkened. "They've appeared here as well. Strange shadows that devour divine energy. 3 minor gods have already been reduced to husks. Where's Zeus? The great toad sage said we'd need to work together to stop this." "In the throne room, with the council." Hera's lips pressed into a thin line. "They've been deliberating your case for hours. Some want to acknowledge you immediately, others consider you a threat." "Zeus." She hesitated. "Zeus has proposed a solution of sorts." "What kind of solution?" "Trials," she explained. 3 divine trials to prove your godhood and your worthiness to wield power on Olympus." Naruto frowned. "We don't have time for tests. Those void things are attacking both worlds right now." "I know, but Zeus is stubborn. He won't accept you without proof, and we need him on our side." Hera placed a hand on his armored forearm. "The trials will allow you to demonstrate your power and win allies among the gods. We'll need every advantage against what's coming." Naruto sighed. "Fine. What kind of trials are we talking about? Please tell me I don't have to clean some divine stable or something." A hint of a smile touched Hera's lips. "Nothing so mundane. You'll face a monster, a maze, and a judgment. Each will test different aspects of your divinity." "Sounds fun," Naruto said sarcastically. "When do we start?" "Now." Hera gestured to the massive doors of the council chamber. "The gods await." The Olympian throne room made the council chamber look modest by comparison. Towering columns supported a ceiling that seemed to contain actual stars and cosmic nebulae. 12 massive thrones arranged in a U-shape dominated the space, each uniquely designed to reflect its owner's domain. Every throne was occupied when Naruto entered with Hera. The Olympian gods watched him with expressions ranging from curiosity to outright hostility. Zeus sat on the central throne, his face carefully neutral. "Approach, claimant," Zeus commanded, his voice echoing with power. Naruto walked forward confidently, coming to stop in the center of the U formation. He deliberately kept the lance in its armored form, no need to escalate the tension just yet. "I see you've acquired a new trinket," Zeus observed, eyeing Naruto's armored arm. "The celestial lance," Naruto replied. "It was waiting for me." Murmurs rippled through the assembled gods. A muscular god with a bushy beard leaned forward from his throne of coral and shells. "The lance has chosen him, brother," he said to Zeus. "That alone validates his claim." "The lance could be fooled," Poseidon countered, a beautiful goddess with cold gray eyes and battle armor. "Or this could be a convincing replica." "I doubt that," Athena said another god, youthful, with winged sandals and a mischievous smile. "The lance's power signature is genuine. I can sense it from here." Zeus raised a hand for silence. We'll determine the truth soon enough. His piercing blue eyes fixed on Naruto. You claim to be the dragon god, my twin, separated from Olympus since birth. I offer you 3 trials to prove your claim. Complete them, and I will acknowledge you before the council. Fail, and you will be stripped of divine power and return to your mortal life with no memory of this place. Do you accept? Do I have a choice? Naruto asked. A ghost of a smile touched Zeus's lips. There's always a choice. You could leave now, return to your shinobi world. But the breach between realms would remain, and the Void Walkers would continue to feed until both worlds are consumed. Some choice, Naruto muttered. Fine. I accept your trials. Zeus nodded. Then here the challenges set before you. First, you will slay the modern incarnation of the Nemean hydra, which terrorizes the mortal Greek world. Second, you will navigate the labyrinth of truth, confronting the essence of your dual nature. Third, you will participate in the judgment of souls, demonstrating your wisdom and divine discernment. You must complete all 3 trials before the next full moon, added a somber god with pale skin and eyes like bottomless pits, Hades, Naruto remembered. 3 days from now. The same deadline as the divine transformation, Naruto noted. Convenient. Indeed, Zeus agreed coldly. If you are truly a god, you will prevail. If not. He let the implication hang. I'll start with the hydra, Naruto decided. Where do I find it? A beautiful goddess with flowing auburn hair and a silver bow spoke up. I've tracked the beast to Mount Parnassus in the mortal realm. It's claimed 12 lives already this month. Thank you. Naruto trailed off, realizing he didn't know her name. Artemis, she supplied. Goddess of the hunt. I would join you in this quest, but the rules forbid direct divine intervention in the trials. I can handle one overgrown lizard, Naruto assured her with a grin. Zeus waved his hand dismissively. The council is adjourned. The trials begin at dawn tomorrow. Until then, our guest is free to explore Olympus. Within reason. The gods began to vanish from their thrones, some in flashes of light, others in gusts of wind or swirls of water. Soon only Zeus, Hera, and a few others remained. Aphrodite approached Naruto with a dazzling smile, looking even more stunning than he remembered in a flowing gown that shifted colors with every movement. Found your spear, I see, she purred, eyeing his armored arm appreciatively. Very impressive. Perhaps you could show me its capabilities sometime. Aphrodite, Hera warned. Oh relax, I'm just being friendly. Aphrodite linked her arm through Naruto's. Our guest will need allies for what's coming. And information. She glanced up at him through impossibly long lashes. I know all the best gossip about who's supporting you and who's plotting against you. That could be useful, Naruto admitted. Then it's settled. Aphrodite turned to Hera. You can bore him with ancient history later. Right now, he needs a crash course in Olympian politics and who he can trust. Hera looked like she wanted to object but just sighed. Fine. But remember, Aphrodite, the fate of both realms hangs in the balance. This isn't one of your games. Darling, everything's a game. Aphrodite winked. The stakes are just higher this time. As she led Naruto away, he glanced back to see Zeus and Hera in what appeared to be a heated discussion. The thunder god's expression was thunderous, while Hera maintained a regal composure that nonetheless conveyed stubborn determination. Don't worry about them, Aphrodite said, following his gaze. They've been having the same argument for centuries. Which is? Power. Balance. Who controls what? She guided him through marble hallways adorned with incredible artistry. Zeus doesn't share authority well. The idea of having an equal, especially one who's technically his twin, is driving him absolutely crazy. I don't want his throne, Naruto insisted. Maybe not, but you represent a fundamental challenge to how he's run things for millennia. Aphrodite stopped at a balcony overlooking all of Olympus, a glittering divine city sprawling across cloud-wrapped mountain peaks. Beautiful, isn't it? Yeah, Naruto agreed, momentarily distracted by the view. And wildly imbalanced. Aphrodite gestured to the western side, where massive temples and palaces dominated. Zeus's domain has expanded over centuries, while the eastern side, traditionally the dragon god's territory, has fallen into neglect. Looking closer, Naruto could see she was right. The eastern side of Olympus had fewer structures, many appearing ancient and untended. The ancient texts speak of twin rulers, thunder governing the sky and celestial order, dragon maintaining balance between realms and serving as guardian of divine boundaries. Aphrodite's expression grew serious. When you disappeared, Zeus assumed both roles. But he's always favored order over balance. And that's a problem. It's becoming one. The barriers between worlds have been thinning for centuries. Divine energy leaks into mortal realms, causing chaos. Mortal beliefs affect divine reality more than they should. She sighed. The Void Walkers are just a symptom of a deeper problem. The cosmic balance is failing without the dragon god to maintain it. Naruto leaned against the balcony railing, processing this information. So even if I pass these trials and Zeus acknowledges me, I've got a massive job ahead fixing all this. Exactly. Aphrodite's smile returned. But first, you need allies. Let's talk about who's who in divine society. Over the next hour, Aphrodite gave Naruto a crash course in Olympian politics. Poseidon and most of the sea gods supported his claim, seeing the dragon gods return as a check on Zeus's power. Athena and Ares were skeptical, loyal to Zeus and wary of change. Artemis, Apollo, and Hermes were cautiously curious. Hephaestus, Aphrodite's husband, was interested mainly in studying the celestial lance's craftsmanship. And what about you? Naruto finally asked. Where do you stand in all this? Aphrodite's smile turned mysterious. I'm the goddess of love, Naruto. I stand with passion, with connection, with new possibilities. She traced a finger along his jaw. And you're the most interesting possibility to come along in centuries. That's not really an answer. Isn't it? She laughed, the sound like silver bells. Fine. Officially, I remain neutral in power struggles. Unofficially. Her expression softened. I believe you're exactly who and what you claim to be. And I think your return could bring much-needed change to a stagnant system. Before Naruto could respond, a new presence interrupted them. I see Aphrodite has claimed first rights to our guest's attention, observed a tall god with a full beard and crippled legs, moving with the help of an elaborate mechanical brace. Mind if I join you? I've been dying to examine that weapon. Hephaestus, Aphrodite greeted, not sounding particularly pleased. How unexpected. Husband, he corrected mildly, though there was an edge beneath his pleasant tone. He turned to Naruto. God of fire and forge. Creator of divine weapons and impossible marvels. He extended a calloused hand. Naruto shook it, feeling immense strength in the god's grip. Nice to meet you. Hephaestus gestured to Naruto's armored arm. May I? After a moment's hesitation, Naruto nodded. Hephaestus ran expert fingers over the dragon scales, his eyes lighting with professional fascination. Extraordinary craftsmanship, he murmured. Cosmic metallurgy beyond even my techniques. The weapon becomes armor becomes weapon, ingenious adaptation mechanism. He looked up. Could you manifest the lance form briefly? Naruto concentrated, and the armor flowed like liquid metal, reforming into the full lance in his grip. Hephaestus circled it, studying every detail without touching. A true celestial weapon, he confirmed. Forged before Olympus existed. Its design principles influenced my creation of Zeus's thunderbolts and Poseidon's trident. He sighed appreciatively. To think it survived all these eons. The toads kept it safe, Naruto explained. In my world. Fascinating. Cross-dimensional guardianship. Hephaestus stepped back. Well, whether you pass Zeus's trials or not, I hope you'll visit my forge. I'd love to show you some of my work and perhaps learn more about this remarkable weapon. Sure, Naruto agreed, returning the lance to its armored state. Hephaestus nodded, then turned to Aphrodite. My dear, try not to scandalize our guest entirely on his first day, won't you? Some of us would like him to succeed. With that pointed comment, he departed, his mechanical brace whirring softly. Well, that was awkward, Naruto observed. Aphrodite shrugged elegantly. Hephaestus and I have an arrangement. He pretends not to notice my diversions, I pretend to respect his work. It functions well enough. That sounds kind of messed up. Divine marriages often are, she said lightly. Speaking of which, has Hera told you about your betrothal yet? She mentioned something about originally being promised to the dragon god, but she didn't go into details. Aphrodite's eyes lit with mischief. Oh, there are many delicious details. Perhaps we should find her so she can explain properly. This is one history lesson I wouldn't want to miss. They found Hera in the Library of Ages, a vast repository of divine knowledge contained in scrolls, tablets, and other mediums Naruto couldn't even identify. She was consulting an ancient text written on what appeared to be solidified moonlight. Ah, there you are, she said, looking up as they entered. I was researching the Nemean hydra. It's not like the original, this version has evolved to counter modern weapons. Fascinating, Aphrodite interrupted. But we're here about a more personal historical matter. The dragon betrothal. Hera's expression tightened. I see you've been gossiping. Merely filling in contextual gaps, Aphrodite replied innocently. Our guest deserves to know his own history, doesn't he? Hera sighed, closing the ancient text. I suppose this conversation was inevitable. She gestured to a seating area surrounded by softly glowing crystal orbs. We might as well be comfortable. Once they were seated, Hera folded her hands in her lap, looking uncharacteristically hesitant. Before the war with Kronos, when the prophecy of twin divine rulers was widely known, arrangements were made for the future governance of Olympus, she began. Political alliances through marriage were common practice, even among gods. Still are, Aphrodite interjected. Though some of us managed to have more fun with the arrangement than others. Hera shot her an irritated look before continuing. I was a young goddess from the Titan generation, daughter of Kronos and Rhea, like Zeus. But unlike him, I wasn't swallowed as an infant. I was hidden away, raised in secret. Like me, Naruto observed. Yes. Hera's expression softened. When Rhea learned she was carrying twins who would fulfill the prophecy, she made arrangements for both your futures. Zeus would marry Metis, goddess of wisdom, while I. She hesitated. I was betrothed to the dragon god. But Kronos ate Zeus's siblings, and Rhea had to hide the twins, Naruto continued, piecing together the story. Zeus was raised on Crete, while I was sent to another dimension entirely. Exactly. When Zeus emerged to lead the war against Kronos, freeing the swallowed gods and establishing the new order, there was no sign of his twin. Many assumed the dragon child had been discovered and destroyed by Kronos. And with the original plan in shambles, you married Zeus instead, Naruto guessed. It was politically expedient, Hera acknowledged. Zeus needed to consolidate power. I represented a connection to the old order that lent him legitimacy. And so we were wed, and I became Queen of Olympus. A position that would have been yours anyway, just with a different king, Aphrodite pointed out. How interesting that fate brought you back to your original intended. Hera's cheeks colored slightly. That's hardly relevant now. The past is past. Is it though? Aphrodite challenged. The prophecy remains unfulfilled. The divine twins have found each other at last. Perhaps other elements of the original destiny might also come to pass. Naruto felt suddenly awkward, caught between the two goddesses and their loaded conversation. Look, I'm not trying to disrupt anyone's marriage or claim any thrones. I just want to stop the Void Walkers and figure out who I am. Noble sentiments, Hera said, looking grateful for the change in subject. And to do that, you need to pass these trials. Let's focus on that, shall we? She reopened the moonlight text. The Hydra. For the next hour, they discussed strategy for the first trial. The modern Nemean Hydra was a fearsome beast, 9 heads, poisonous breath, scales impervious to most weapons, and the traditional problem of growing 2 heads whenever one was cut off. Traditional approaches won't work, Hera warned. Heroes typically use fire to cauterize the necks after cutting the heads, but this variant has evolved resistance to flame. What about lightning? Naruto asked. If it's Zeus's trial, wouldn't a lightning-based attack be appropriate? Perhaps, Hera acknowledged. Though using powers too similar to Zeus's might be seen as copying rather than demonstrating your own divine nature. Then I'll use dragon techniques, Naruto decided. Combined with shinobi tactics. Aphrodite looked intrigued. What did you have in mind? Naruto grinned. A bit of misdirection, a bunch of shadow clones, and maybe some sage mode if things get hairy. The Hydra won't know what hit it. Shadow clones? Hera asked. Solid copies of myself. It's a shinobi technique I mastered years ago. Naruto formed a hand sign, and 3 perfect duplicates appeared beside him. Pretty handy for overwhelming opponents. Both goddesses looked impressed. Aphrodite reached out to touch one of the clones, her eyes widening when her hand didn't pass through. Completely solid, she marveled. And they can fight independently? Yep. They've got all my abilities, just less chakra. Fascinating, Hera murmured. Your shinobi powers combined with divine energy could be truly formidable. No wonder the ancient forces sought to keep you separated from Olympus. A distant bell tolled, its sound resonating through the entire mountain. Sunset, Hera explained. You should rest before tomorrow's trial. The journey to the mortal realm and battle with the Hydra will tax even your stamina. I've prepared guest chambers in my palace, Aphrodite offered quickly. The finest accommodations on Olympus. That won't be necessary, Hera countered. The Eastern Palace has been prepared for him. As the dragon god's traditional residence, it's most appropriate. The 2 goddesses stared at each other, neither willing to back down. Ladies, I appreciate the offers, but I'd rather just crash wherever is convenient, Naruto intervened diplomatically. The Eastern Palace sounds fine if it's already set up. Hera nodded, satisfied. I'll escort you there myself. And I'll see you in the morning before your trial, Aphrodite said, rising gracefully. For luck. She kissed Naruto on the cheek, lingering just long enough to make Hera's eyes narrow, before vanishing in her signature swirl of rose petals. Alone with Hera, Naruto found himself uncharacteristically tongue-tied. The revelation of their intended betrothal hung in the air between them, adding an unexpected dimension to their interaction. She enjoys creating complications, Hera said finally, breaking the silence. I noticed. Naruto ran a hand through his hair. Look, about the whole betrothal thing, it's ancient history, Hera interrupted quickly. A political arrangement from a different era. It has no bearing on our present situation. Right. Of course. Naruto couldn't help feeling a twinge of disappointment at her dismissive tone, which puzzled him. He barely knew her, after all. Hera must have noticed something in his expression because her features softened. That's not to say I don't feel a connection. The prophecy spoke of complementary forces, thunder and dragon, bound by destiny. Perhaps some echo of that original design remains. I feel it too, Naruto admitted. Like I've known you before. It's weird but not unpleasant. A small smile touched Hera's lips. Given everything else you're dealing with, I'd say recognizing a predestined connection is the least strange development. Fair point. Naruto grinned. Lead on to this eastern palace, then. I could definitely use some sleep before fighting a mythical monster tomorrow. The eastern palace lived up to its ancient reputation. Though clearly long and used, it retained a timeless elegance, airy halls with high ceilings, gardens where mysterious plants glowed under starlight, and walls adorned with murals depicting celestial dragons soaring between worlds. It's like the place has been waiting for you, Hera observed as they walked through the main courtyard, where a fountain shaped like a coiled dragon began flowing spontaneously at Naruto's approach. Creepy but cool. Naruto dipped his hand in the crystal-clear water, which tingled against his skin. What is this? The Fountain of Essence. It's said to replenish divine energy and clarify the mind. Hera watched as the water glowed faintly gold where Naruto touched it. The palace responds to you. It recognizes its true master. I'm not sure I'll ever get used to this god stuff, Naruto admitted. You will, in time. Hera led him to a set of massive doors carved with cosmic scenes. They swung open at her approach, revealing master chambers that took Naruto's breath away. The bedroom was easily the size of his entire Konoha apartment, dominated by a circular bed that appeared to float above the floor. One wall was entirely open to the night sky, protected by some invisible barrier that kept the mountain air pleasantly warm. The ceiling was a perfect replica of the cosmos, stars and galaxies slowly wheeling overhead. This is insane, Naruto murmured. People actually live like this? Gods do, Hera replied with a hint of amusement. Though even by divine standards, the Dragon Palace is exceptional. It exists partially in multiple dimensions simultaneously. No wonder I feel so at home. Naruto approached the open wall, gazing out at the starlit expanse of Olympus. From this vantage point, he could see the entire divine city spread below, glittering with otherworldly light. It's beautiful. Yes, Hera agreed, but when he turned, he found her watching him rather than the view. An awkward silence fell between them, charged with unspoken possibilities. Naruto was acutely aware of her presence, regal and powerful, yet somehow vulnerable in this moment. I should let you rest, she said finally. Dawn comes early, and the hydra will be a formidable challenge. Right. Big day tomorrow. Naruto hesitated. Thanks. For believing in me, for helping me. I know this can't be easy for you either. Hera's expression softened. Perhaps the fates knew what they were doing after all, bringing you back now when both worlds need you most. She moved toward the door, then paused. Good night, Dragon God. After she departed, Naruto explored the palace further, finding rooms dedicated to various aspects of cosmic governance, a meditation chamber that showed real-time views of different realms, an armory with spaces for weapons that had long since vanished, a council room with a circular table bearing 13 chairs. This place recognizes you on a fundamental level, Kurama observed. It's responding to your divine essence. Yeah, it's wild. Naruto finally returned to the master chambers, too wired to sleep despite his physical exhaustion. He stepped through the open wall onto a private terrace, breathing in the divine air of Olympus. From this height, he could see disturbances on the fringes of the divine city, dark patches where the usual golden light dimmed and flickered. The Void Walkers, testing Olympus's boundaries. We need to move fast, he murmured. Starting with this hydra tomorrow. Eventually, exhaustion won out. Naruto fell asleep on the floating bed, dreaming of dragons and thunder, of golden lances and peacock feathers, of worlds in the balance and twins separated at birth. And always, at the edges of his dreams, shadows watched and waited. Dawn broke over Olympus in a spectacular display of cosmic light. Naruto was already awake, meditating in the palace gardens. The celestial lance floated before him in its complete form, responding to his concentrated energy. Impressive control, observed Athena, appearing silently at the garden's edge. Most new gods struggle with their divine focus. Naruto opened his eyes, letting the lance settle gently into his grip. I've had practice with energy control. Sage training, Jinchuriki balance, Rasengan formation, they all require similar concentration. Your mortal training serves you well in divine matters. Athena approached, studying him with analytical gray eyes. I've come to escort you to the gateway for your first trial. The council will observe remotely. No pressure or anything, Naruto muttered, standing. Athena's lips quirked in a small smile. I would wish you luck, but as goddess of strategic warfare, I place little faith in fortune. Skill and wisdom determine outcomes more reliably. Good thing I've got plenty of both, Naruto replied with a confident grin. Athena raised an eyebrow but didn't contradict him. Follow me. The others await at the mortal gate. They traversed Olympus swiftly, Athena setting a brisk pace. Along the way, minor gods and divine attendants stopped to stare at Naruto, news of his claim having spread throughout the divine city. The mortal gate turned out to be a massive arch of swirling energy at Olympus's southern edge. Several gods were already gathered there, Zeus, Hera, Aphrodite, Artemis, and Apollo. Our monster slayer arrives, Apollo greeted cheerfully. The sun god was blindingly handsome, with golden hair and a perfect tan. Betting pool has you at 3-1 against survival, by the way. I put a small fortune on you making it, so try not to disappoint. Apollo, Artemis chided, elbowing her twin. Ignore my brother. His humor is as tasteless as his poetry. You wound me, sister. Apollo clutched his heart dramatically. Zeus cleared his throat, silencing the banter. The trial has specific parameters. You will be transported to Mount Parnassus, where the hydra has made its lair. You must slay the beast before sunset, using only your own powers. No divine assistance may be provided. What about my shinobi abilities? Naruto asked. Shadow clones, summoning, sage mode. Your mortal skills are permitted, Zeus confirmed. This trial tests your worthiness as a god, including how you integrate your dual nature. Naruto nodded, his grip tightening on the lance. Then I'm ready. One moment, Aphrodite stepped forward, draping a flowing red scarf around his neck. For luck, she whispered, kissing his cheek. Not to be outdone, Hera approached as well, pressing something small and golden into his palm. A scale from the original celestial dragons, she explained. It may provide insight when needed. Zeus watched these exchanges with narrowed eyes but said nothing. He raised his hand, and the gateway began to pulse with increased energy. Return victorious or not at all, claimant, he intoned formally. The trial begins now. With a last confident grin at the assembled gods, Naruto stepped through the portal. The transition was jarring, from the perfect atmosphere of Olympus to the rougher air of the mortal Greek world. He materialized on a forested mountain slope, the gateway closing behind him. In the distance, he could see the blue expanse of the Gulf of Corinth. Different from our world, Kurama noted. Similar, but the energy feels thinner somehow. This isn't the shinobi world, Naruto agreed. It's Earth, but a different version than we know. The mortal realm connected to Olympus. He surveyed his surroundings, extending his senses. Almost immediately, he detected a disturbance, a concentration of malevolent energy emanating from higher up the mountain, where a dark cave mouth gaped in the rocky terrain. That's gotta be it, Naruto murmured, starting toward the cave. Time to introduce myself to this hydra. As he approached, signs of the monster's presence became more evident. Withered vegetation. Scattered bones. A miasma of poisonous gas hovering just above the ground. And most tellingly, deep gouges in the stone where something massive had dragged itself in and out of the cave. Naruto paused at the entrance, considering his options. Going in blind seemed foolish. The hydra would have the advantage in its lair, and the confined space would limit his mobility. Better draw it out, he decided. Forming a hand sign, he created 30 shadow clones. "You guys know what to do." The clones nodded and spread out, taking up positions around the cave entrance. Naruto himself climbed to a vantage point on a rocky outcrop, the lance ready in his grip. "Let's see how hungry this thing is," he muttered. Then, at his signal, the clones began creating a tremendous racket, shouting, throwing rocks into the cave, generating as much noise and chaos as possible. It didn't take long to get a response. The ground trembled as something massive stirred within the darkness. A hissing sound echoed from the cave, multiplied 9 times over. Then the hydra emerged. "Holy shit," Naruto breathed. The creature was nightmarish, a body the size of a small building, covered in iridescent black scales that reflected light in oily rainbows. 9 serpentine necks supported 9 heads, each slightly different, some with frills, others with horns, all with glowing yellow eyes and mouths full of razor teeth. Acidic venom dripped from multiple sets of fangs, sizzling where it hit the ground. The hydra surveyed the clearing with its multiple heads, instantly targeting the closest clones. 3 heads struck simultaneously, moving with shocking speed for something so large. The attacked clones barely dodged, leaping away as venomous fangs shattered rock where they had stood. "Now we've got its attention," Naruto muttered. He focused divine energy into the lance, causing it to glow with golden light. "Let's see how tough those scales really are." He launched himself from the outcrop, the lance pointed directly at the hydra's back. The weapon struck with tremendous force, the impact sending shockwaves through the clearing. But instead of penetrating, the lance skidded off the monster's scales with a shower of sparks. The hydra whirled, all 9 heads focusing on this new, more substantial threat. "Okay, so much for the direct approach," Naruto said, leaping away as multiple heads struck at him. One of the heads managed to graze his leg with its fangs. Instantly, fiery pain shot through his body. The divine portion of his nature neutralized the venom before it could do serious damage, but the message was clear, even a scratch from this thing was bad news. "The scales are its protection," Kurama observed. "You need to find a weak point." "Working on it." Naruto dodged another coordinated attack from 3 heads. His shadow clones engaged the monster from all sides, distracting it with a barrage of kunai, shuriken, and Rasengan attacks. None did significant damage, but they kept the hydra turning and twisting, unable to focus exclusively on the real Naruto. Using this distraction, Naruto took a moment to enter Sage mode, enhancing his perception and physical abilities. With his heightened senses, he detected something interesting, a rhythmic pulsing beneath the hydra's scales, concentrated in its chest. The heart, he realized. That's the weak point. But reaching it would be nearly impossible with 9 heads protecting the body and scales that repelled even the celestial lance. Naruto needed a new strategy. He retreated to a safe distance, mind racing as he watched his clones continue to harass the hydra. Several had already been dispelled by venom or crushing jaws, their memories flowing back to him with valuable combat data. Then he noticed something. When one clone was caught and crushed, the hydra momentarily focused all 9 heads on consuming its prey, even though the clone dispelled into smoke almost immediately. It was a feeding instinct, overriding tactical sense. "I can use that," Naruto decided. He created a special shadow clone, infusing it with both chakra and divine energy so it would be particularly attractive to the monster. The clone approached the hydra boldly, radiating power. As expected, all 9 heads oriented toward this tempting target. The clone dodged and weaved, drawing the hydra's full attention while the remaining regular clones moved into position behind the monster. "Now!" Naruto commanded. The special clone allowed itself to be caught, but instead of dodging, it grabbed onto the central head's fangs and channeled an explosive burst of combined chakra and divine energy. The resulting detonation was tremendous, momentarily stunning all 9 heads. In that critical moment, Naruto called upon the full power of the celestial lance. The weapon responded, shifting form slightly, its twin blades elongating and taking on a drill-like spiral pattern. Dragon Lance Spiral. Naruto shouted, driving the transformed weapon at the exact spot where he detected the Hydra's heart. This time, the lance didn't deflect. Enhanced by his Sage Mode precision and the weapon's adaptive response, it pierced the Hydra's scales, drilling deep into the monster's chest. Golden energy erupted from the wound, spreading through the creature's body like lightning through water. The Hydra convulsed violently, all 9 heads writhing in agony. Naruto maintained his grip on the lance, channeling more divine energy into the weapon as it penetrated deeper. Just a little more, he grunted, pushing against the monster's incredible resistance. Suddenly, the lance broke through some final barrier. The Hydra froze, its multiple eyes widening simultaneously. Then it simply dissolved, its physical form breaking down into particles of light that swirled around Naruto and the lance. What the? Naruto stared as the particles converged on his weapon, being absorbed into the golden metal. The lance pulsed with new power, momentarily shifting to reveal draconic patterns that hadn't been there before. The lance consumed its essence, he realized. It adapted. As the last particles vanished, silence fell over the clearing. Naruto stood alone among scattered rocks and withered vegetation, the celestial lance gleaming with fresh power in his grip. A slow clapping sound broke the silence. Naruto turned to find Apollo leaning against a tree, looking impressed. Not bad, Dragon Boy. Not bad at all. I thought gods weren't allowed to interfere in the trial, Naruto said, lowering the lance. Observe, not interfere, Apollo corrected with a grin. Besides, it's over now. You passed with flying colors, and quite the spectacular finish, I might add. The lance consuming the Hydra's essence. That hasn't happened in, well, ever. Is that good? It's unprecedented, Apollo replied. Which, in the realm of divine trials, is usually either very good or very, very bad. He pushed off from the tree, approaching to examine the lance with professional interest. The weapon is evolving, responding to your needs and victories. Fascinating. So what happens now? Naruto asked. Now. You return to Olympus in triumph. Rest. Prepare for the second trial tomorrow. Apollo raised his hand, creating a shimmering portal. After you, Hydra Slayer. Naruto's return to Olympus was met with mixed reactions. Many minor gods and divine attendants cheered as he emerged from the portal, word of his victory having somehow preceded him. Others watched with wary respect or outright suspicion. Zeus merely nodded acknowledgement before vanishing in a thunderclap. Hera's smile was warm but restrained in the public setting. Aphrodite had no such reservations, rushing forward to embrace him enthusiastically. That was magnificent, she exclaimed. The way you tricked it with the clone, then struck at exactly the right moment. And the lance's transformation? Perfection. You were watching? Naruto asked, surprised. Of course. We all were. Aphrodite gestured to a nearby reflection pool. Divine viewing portal. Much better than mortal television. Congratulations, Hera said, approaching more sedately. Your strategy was both clever and effective. You combined mortal and divine techniques seamlessly. Thanks, Naruto replied, oddly pleased by her approval. Though the lance deserves most of the credit. It knew exactly what to do. The lance responds to your intent, Hera explained. Its form and function change to match your needs. An extremely rare quality in divine weapons, most are fixed in their capabilities. Speaking of rare, Apollo interjected, the absorption phenomenon we witnessed is worth discussing. The lance didn't just kill the Hydra, it consumed its essence, its power. Athena, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward with a thoughtful expression. The ancient texts mention this ability. Celestial dragons could absorb the energy of certain defeated enemies, incorporating their strengths. It seems the lance retains this draconic characteristic. So my weapon's getting stronger with each victory? Naruto asked. Potentially, Athena confirmed. Though I suspect it can only absorb entities with compatible energy signatures. The hydra was a divine beast with ancient roots, a suitable meal for a dragon weapon. Handy trick, Hermes commented, appearing suddenly beside them. The messenger god was lean and quick-looking, with mischievous eyes. Especially against what's coming. What do you mean? Naruto asked. Hermes glanced around, lowering his voice. While you were busy with the hydra, 3 more minor gods were attacked by void servants. Not just energy drain this time, they were specifically targeted, interrogated about you and the lance. A chill ran down Naruto's spine. The Void Walkers are getting bolder. And more focused, Hera added grimly. They know you've returned and see you as their primary threat. All the more reason to complete these trials quickly, Aphrodite said. The sooner Naruto is formally acknowledged, the sooner the twins can unite against this enemy. Naruto nodded. What's the second trial? The Labyrinth of Truth, right? Yes, Hera confirmed. It begins at dawn tomorrow. The labyrinth tests your inner nature, forcing you to confront aspects of yourself you might prefer to avoid. Sounds fun, Naruto said sarcastically. It's rarely pleasant, Athena acknowledged. But necessary. Many gods have entered the labyrinth believing themselves to be one thing, only to emerge with a completely different understanding of their nature and purpose. You should rest and prepare, Hera advised. The labyrinth is primarily a mental and spiritual challenge, but it can manifest physical dangers based on your own fears and conflicts. Naruto glanced at the lance, still thrumming with newly absorbed power. Will I be able to take this with me? The labyrinth strips away external advantages, Athena explained. You'll enter with nothing but yourself, your mind, your spirit, your inherent abilities. No weapons, no artifacts. Great, Naruto sighed. Just me and my charming personality against my own personal demons. What could go wrong? After a light meal and some time to recuperate from the Hydra battle, Naruto found himself restless. The Eastern Palace, while magnificent, felt too quiet, too empty. He decided to explore more of Olympus, particularly the areas Aphrodite had pointed out as traditionally belonging to the dragon god's domain. As he walked through the divine city's eastern quarter, he noticed the gradual restoration happening around him. Crumbled columns were straightening, faded murals regaining their colors, dormant fountains beginning to flow again. The realm responds to your presence, observed Poseidon, appearing beside him. The sea god was impressive up close, tall and powerfully built, with a wild beard and eyes that shifted colors like the ocean itself. Your power is reawakening what has long been dormant. I'm not doing anything consciously, Naruto replied, watching as a nearby temple's collapsed roof began slowly reassembling itself. Divine influence often works that way. Poseidon gestured for Naruto to walk with him. Intention matters more than conscious effort. Your mere presence, your acceptance of your nature, is enough to begin the restoration. They strolled through a garden where strange luminescent plants were breaking through centuries of overgrowth, unfurling leaves and blooms that hadn't been seen on Olympus for millennia. You believe I am who I claim to be, Naruto observed. Why? You barely know me. Poseidon chuckled, the sound like waves against a rocky shore. I've known Zeus for eons. I know his power signature, his divine essence. Yours is unmistakably similar, yet distinct, like two instruments playing the same song in different keys. He studied Naruto thoughtfully. Besides, I remember the prophecy of the twins. Many have conveniently forgotten it since Zeus took soul power, but I have not. Dragon and thunder, divided shall fall, united command all, Naruto quoted. Exactly. Poseidon's expression darkened. And the falling has already begun. The barriers between realms weaken. Divine energy bleeds where it shouldn't. Mortal beliefs affect us more strongly than ever before. The imbalance Aphrodite mentioned. She may present herself as concerned mainly with affairs of the heart, but Aphrodite is one of the oldest gods, an elemental force predating even the Titans. She understands cosmic balance better than most. Poseidon looked at Naruto with sudden intensity. She's drawn to you for more than just your handsome face, you know. Naruto felt heat rise to his cheeks. She's been pretty forward about her interest. That's her way, Poseidon agreed with a laugh. But there's more to it. The original prophecy mentioned not just the twin rulers but their divine consorts as well. The dragon god was to be balanced by dual aspects of feminine divinity, order and chaos, commitment and passion. Hera and Aphrodite, Naruto guessed. Names weren't specified, but the archetypes fit. Poseidon shrugged massive shoulders. Of course, prophecies are tricky things. Often they fulfill themselves in ways no one expects. They had reached a massive pool of still, black water at the easternmost edge of Olympus. Unlike the other reflection pools Naruto had seen, this one didn't mirror the sky above. Instead, it showed shifting images of different worlds and realms, including, briefly, Konoha. The pool of worlds, Poseidon explained. One of the dragon god's most important tools for maintaining cosmic balance. It allows viewing and, for those with the skill, interaction with different realms. Naruto knelt beside the pool, watching as it showed flickers of his home, the Hokage Tower, the village streets, the faces carved into the mountain. Can I use it to check on my friends? In theory, yes. Though it responds only to the dragon god's command, and your powers are still developing. Poseidon gestured to the water. Try. Focus on who you wish to see, and touch the surface. Naruto thought of Sakura and Sai, of Tsunade preparing the village defenses. He reached out, fingers brushing the pool's surface. Instantly, the water shifted, showing a clear image of Konoha's war room. Tsunade stood at a table with the village elders and several AMBU commanders, pointing to maps and giving orders. Though no sound carried through, their urgency was evident. They're preparing for invasion, Naruto murmured. The Void Walkers must be appearing there too. The image shifted without his conscious direction, showing dark figures moving through the forests surrounding the village. They weren't quite physical, more like tears in reality, shadowy forms that drained the life from everything they touched. Void servants, Poseidon confirmed grimly. Scouts and advance forces for the true walkers. I need to help them, Naruto said, starting to rise. Poseidon placed a restraining hand on his shoulder. You can best help them by completing the trials and claiming your full power. Until then, any action would be temporary at best, possibly making things worse. How could helping my friends make things worse? Because the Void Walkers are hunting you specifically. Your energy signature is what they're tracking between realms. Every time you cross between worlds, you leave a trail they can follow. Poseidon's expression was sympathetic but firm. Complete the trials. Claim your divine heritage fully. Then you can seal the breaches permanently. Naruto stared at the images in the pool, frustration evident on his face. Finally, he nodded. 2 more trials. Then I fix this, permanently. Good. Poseidon straightened. For what it's worth, I believe you'll succeed. You've already shown more adaptability and strategic thinking than many gods who've held power for millennia. As the sea god departed, Naruto remained by the pool of worlds, watching the shadowy figure stalking ever closer to his home. The need to protect both worlds weighed heavily on him. I will pass these trials, he promised the distant friends he could see but not reach. And then I'm coming home. Hera found him still by the pool hours later, after night had fallen. She approached quietly, watching as Naruto cycled through views of different locations in the shinobi world, Konoha, the ruins where he'd first crossed over, Mount Myaboku. You've activated the pool, she observed, impressed. That's no small achievement for one still growing into divine power. It just sort of responded to me, Naruto replied, not looking up. Poseidon showed me how to focus on specific locations. Hera settled beside him, her flowing robes arranged gracefully on the stone edge. You're worried about your mortal world. The void things are spreading there too. My friends are preparing defenses, but... He trailed off, frustration evident. But conventional defenses won't work against enemies that exist partially beyond physical reality, Hera finished for him. I understand your concern. But Poseidon was right, completing your transformation is the surest way to protect both realms. I know, Naruto sighed, finally looking away from the pool. Doesn't make the waiting any easier. Patience has never been Zeus's strong suit either, Hera observed with a small smile. Perhaps it's a family trait. That drew a reluctant chuckle from Naruto. Maybe. Though I'd like to think I'm slightly less dramatic than the guy who announces himself with thunderbolts. Only slightly, Hera teased, her usual formality softening. In the moonlight, without the presence of other gods, she seemed younger somehow, more approachable. Naruto found himself studying her features, the perfect curve of her cheek, the intelligent depth of her eyes, the subtle hints of gold in her dark hair. The connection he'd felt before strengthened in her presence, a recognition that went beyond physical attraction. You should be resting, she said softly. Tomorrow's trial will test you in ways the hydra couldn't. I know. Just needed to check on things first. Naruto gestured to the pool, which had shifted to show Sakura organizing a medical unit. They're my family. The only one I've ever known. Until now, Hera pointed out gently. Yeah. Naruto ran a hand through his hair. Though Zeus doesn't exactly feel like family yet. More like a really powerful, really grumpy roommate who wishes I'd move out. Hera laughed, the sound surprisingly melodic. He felt the same way about most of his siblings when they first emerged from Kronos. Zeus doesn't share power easily, but he does recognize necessity. Her expression grew more serious. And you are necessary, Naruto. More than you realize. Because of the prophecy. Because of who you are. What you represent. Hera gestured to the gradually restoring eastern quarter around them. Balance isn't just a concept, it's a fundamental requirement for cosmic stability. Zeus provides order, structure, hierarchy. But without your counterbalance, flexibility, adaptation, connection between realms, the entire system becomes rigid, brittle. And eventually breaks, Naruto concluded. Like it's doing now. Exactly. Hera gazed across Olympus toward Zeus's massive palace on the western peak. He won't admit it, but he needs you. Olympus needs you. All realms need the dragon god restored. No pressure, Naruto muttered. Hera's hand covered his where it rested on the pool's edge. You've handled greater burdens before. I've seen glimpses of your life through the pool, the lonely child becoming a hero, the outcast becoming a leader, the human containing a tailed beast becoming its partner instead of its jailer. You've been spying on me? Naruto asked, more amused than offended. Observing, Hera corrected primly. Since your energy signature first began to change months ago. The pool sometimes shows what needs to be seen, even without specific direction. Her hand remained on his, warm and somehow both delicate and strong. Neither acknowledged the contact directly, yet neither pulled away. You should sleep, Hera said again after a comfortable silence. The labyrinth requires clear thoughts and steady resolve. Will you tell me more about it? What should I expect? Hera considered this. The experience is different for everyone. The labyrinth reads your mind, your heart, your divine essence. It creates challenges specific to your personal journey. She hesitated. But in your case, with your dual nature still integrating, I suspect it will force you to confront both sides of yourself, the mortal shinobi and the divine dragon. Sounds complicated. It will be. The labyrinth doesn't allow for half measures or compromises. It will demand that you reconcile your two natures into a coherent whole. She squeezed his hand gently before finally withdrawing hers. But if anyone can navigate such complexity, it's you. Naruto appreciated her confidence, even as uncertainty gnawed at him. "And if I fail?" "You won't," Hera stated with surprising conviction. "But if you did, the consequences would be severe. The labyrinth can trap those who cannot reconcile their contradictions, holding them in endless loops of their own making. Forever. Until they either resolve their internal conflicts or—" She didn't finish the thought. "Or fade away," Naruto guessed. "Cease to exist." Hera nodded grimly. "Which is why you must rest now, approach the trial with a clear mind and centered spirit." Naruto stood, offering his hand to help her up. She accepted, rising gracefully. For a moment they stood close, the connection between them almost tangible in the moonlight. "Thank you," Naruto said softly. "For believing in me from the beginning." "Some bonds transcend time and circumstance," Hera replied, her voice equally quiet. "Perhaps the fates knew what they were doing after all." She stepped back, breaking the moment before it could deepen further. "Dawn comes early. I'll escort you to the labyrinth entrance myself." As they walked back toward the eastern palace, Naruto felt both apprehension about tomorrow's trial and a growing certainty about his path. Whatever the labyrinth held, he would face it. He had to, for both his worlds, and for the connections, old and new, that defined him. The Labyrinth of Truth was located deep beneath Olympus, accessed through an ancient temple dedicated to forces that predated even the Titans. Naruto arrived at dawn, escorted by Hera and met by a small gathering of gods who would witness his entry. Zeus stood at the temple entrance, looking regal and remote in formal attire. Aphrodite waited nearby, her usual playfulness subdued by the solemnity of the occasion. Athena, Apollo, and Hermes completed the official observation party. "The second trial begins," Zeus announced as Naruto approached. "The labyrinth will test your inner truth, the essence of your being. Many enter, not all return." "Encouraging," Naruto muttered. "You must enter unarmed," Athena instructed. "The celestial lance cannot accompany you." Naruto concentrated, and the dragon scale armor flowed off his arm, reforming into the lance, which he handed to Hera. "Keep it safe for me." "I will," she promised, their fingers brushing during the exchange. Aphrodite stepped forward. "For luck," she said, and kissed him fully on the lips this time, brief but intense. "Return to us whole, dragon god." Zeus observed this with narrowed eyes but remained silent. He gestured, and the temple doors swung open, revealing a descending staircase that seemed to be made of pure light. "The trial has no time limit in our perception," Zeus explained. "Within the labyrinth, you may experience minutes or millennia, it matters not. You will return when you have either succeeded or failed." "I'll succeed," Naruto said with determination. "We shall see." Zeus stepped aside. "Enter when ready." Naruto took a deep breath, centering himself as he'd been taught in sage training. He looked back once at the assembled gods, Hera's concerned gaze, Aphrodite's encouraging smile, Zeus's inscrutable expression, then descended the glowing stairs. The temple doors closed behind him with a sound of finality. The staircase continued downward, spiraling into increasingly bright light until Naruto had to shield his eyes. When the light finally faded enough for him to see again, he found himself standing at a crossroads in a stone corridor. The labyrinth. 3 passages stretched before him, each identical in appearance, smooth stone walls carved with symbols that shifted and changed as he watched. No obvious clues indicated which path he should take. "This place exists partially outside normal space and time," Kurama observed. "I can sense reality bending around us. Can you help me navigate?" Naruto asked hopefully. "I don't think so. This place seems designed to isolate you with your own essence. Even my presence feels diminished somehow." That wasn't encouraging. Naruto studied the 3 passages again, looking for any hint or indication. As he concentrated, he noticed something strange. Each corridor seemed to resonate with a different aspect of his own energy. The left passage pulsed with chakra, familiar and comforting. The right glowed faintly with divine essence, new but increasingly natural. The center path showed both energies intertwined, neither dominant. A choice right at the start, Naruto murmured. Shinobi, God, or both. He stepped toward the center path, but as he did, the passages shifted, rearranging themselves. Now there were 5 choices, then 7, then 3 again, but different from before. Okay, not that simple. Naruto closed his eyes, remembering Hera's words about reconciling his dual nature. The labyrinth wants me to choose, but maybe the choice itself is the test. He formed a familiar hand sign. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 2 perfect copies appeared beside him. Each of us takes a path, Naruto instructed. We'll see what happens. The clones nodded and moved toward the left and right passages while the original Naruto approached the center. As they crossed the threshold simultaneously, the labyrinth shuddered. The walls rippled like water, and suddenly Naruto was alone again, his clones gone, standing in a perfectly circular chamber with a dozen identical exits. Great, he muttered. So much for that idea. A voice echoed through the chamber, not quite sound, more like thought given form. The self cannot be divided here. You must walk the path as one. Fine. No shortcuts. Naruto approached the exits, which now all looked identical. No energy signatures, no distinguishing features. How am I supposed to choose? Not all paths are external, the voice replied cryptically. Naruto frowned, considering the message. Not all paths are external. Maybe he was overthinking this. The labyrinth tested inner truth, perhaps the physical paths didn't matter as much as his internal journey. I choose to move forward, he stated firmly. As both shinobi and god, human and divine. I reject false choices and artificial divisions. As the words left his mouth, the chamber shifted. The multiple exits melded into a single archway, beyond which Naruto could see a familiar setting, Konoha, specifically the academy where he'd spent his childhood. Okay, that worked, he said, surprised. He stepped through the arch into what appeared to be an empty classroom. Everything looked exactly as he remembered, the worn desks, the chalkboard, the view of the Hokage monument through the windows. But something felt off. The colors were too vivid, the silence too complete. What am I supposed to do here? Naruto wondered aloud. Fail, obviously, came a painfully familiar voice from behind him. It's what you've always done best. Naruto turned to find himself, or rather, a younger version of himself, perhaps 12 years old, wearing his old orange jumpsuit and an expression of pure contempt. You're not real, Naruto stated. Real enough, his younger self replied with a bitter laugh. I'm the part of you that you've tried to leave behind, the lonely orphan, the village pariah, the dead last failure. I've made peace with my past, Naruto insisted. Have you? Or have you just papered over it with achievements and accolades? Young Naruto circled him mockingly. Hokage candidate, war hero, Jinchuriki master, and now, what, some kind of god. Pretty convenient way to escape your real identity. My past doesn't define me. Doesn't it though? You've spent your entire life trying to prove yourself, desperately seeking acknowledgement. The younger Naruto's sneer deepened. And now you're doing it again, jumping through hoops for Zeus's approval. Trading one desperate validation quest for another. The accusation stung because it contained a kernel of truth. Naruto had always sought recognition, acceptance. Was his pursuit of divine acknowledgement just another version of the same pattern? No, he said firmly. This is different. I'm not seeking Zeus's approval for validation. I'm trying to protect both worlds from a genuine threat. Keep telling yourself that, his younger self taunted. But we both know the truth. You're thrilled to suddenly be special, not just a shinobi, but a god. Not just an orphan, but a divine prince. It feeds the same desperate need for importance you've always had. The classroom began to darken, the walls closing in as the younger Naruto's accusations found their mark. Doubt crept into Naruto's mind. Was his younger self right? Was this all just another form of his lifelong quest for acknowledgement? Then he remembered something Irika had told him long ago: the need for recognition isn't shameful. It's how we know we're alive, that we matter. What matters is what you do with that need. You're right, Naruto said suddenly, stopping his younger self mid-tirade. I have always wanted recognition. Acknowledgement. Connection. That's not a weakness, it's what makes me human. The younger Naruto faltered. What? My desire for acknowledgement drove me to protect Konoha, to forge bonds, to grow stronger for others, not just myself. Naruto stepped forward, confidence returning. And now it's driving me to protect both worlds, to restore balance that affects countless lives. The motivation may have similar roots, but the purpose has grown far beyond personal validation. He reached out to his younger self, not with anger but with compassion. You're a part of me, my humanity, my perseverance despite pain, my refusal to give up. I don't reject you, I embrace you. You're the foundation that makes everything else possible. The younger Naruto stared at the outstretched hand, conflict evident in his expression. Then, slowly, he reached out in return. When their hands touched, the younger figure dissolved into golden light that flowed into Naruto, warm and affirming. The classroom dissolved, reforming into a new setting, the Valley of the End, where he had fought Sasuke. But this version was different, the statues replaced by colossal figures of Zeus and a draconic entity Naruto somehow knew represented his own divine aspect. Standing in the center of the valley was another figure, Naruto himself, but transformed, covered in golden scales, eyes draconic, radiating immense power. And now you face your divinity, this new aspect stated, its voice resonating with cosmic power. The part of yourself you've only just discovered but which has always been your birthright. Another test? Naruto asked. A reconciliation, his divine self corrected. Your human aspect questioned your motives. I question your readiness. Divinity is not a prize to be won but a responsibility to be shouldered. I understand responsibility, Naruto replied. I've carried the nine tails since birth. I've protected my village, fought in wars, shouldered burdens most couldn't imagine. Mortal burdens, divine Naruto dismissed with a wave. Divine responsibility extends across realms, across time itself. The cosmic balance affects countless worlds, endless generations. Are you prepared to set aside your human connections, your limited perspective, to embrace the eternal view necessary for such work? Set aside my human connections. Naruto frowned. That doesn't sound right. My connections are my strength, not my limitation. Sentimentality, his divine self scoffed. Gods must see beyond individual lives, beyond personal attachments. Zeus understands this, it's why he rules effectively, if not always compassionately. If that's divinity, then maybe I don't want it, Naruto challenged. A god who can't feel compassion for individuals isn't maintaining balance, he's just enforcing cold order. The divine figure's eyes narrowed. You presume to define godhood better than gods themselves. I presume that my dual nature exists for a reason, Naruto countered. Maybe the dragon god needs human perspective precisely to avoid the detachment you're describing. Maybe that's why Zeus alone couldn't maintain true balance. He lost connection with what he was protecting. The valley trembled as if the labyrinth itself was considering this argument. The divine figure studied Naruto thoughtfully. Perhaps, it conceded. But divine power has costs. To wield cosmic forces requires distance, perspective beyond mortal concerns. Or maybe it requires the opposite, Naruto suggested. Maybe true divine wisdom comes from maintaining connection despite cosmic power, not from sacrificing it. He approached his divine self confidently. I reject the false choice between humanity and divinity. I am both the shinobi who values every precious bond and the god who perceives cosmic patterns. That's my strength, not a contradiction to be resolved, but a synergy to be embraced. The divine figure seemed to consider this, golden scales gleaming as it tilted its head. You would redefine godhood itself? If necessary, Naruto confirmed. The old approach clearly isn't working, or we wouldn't have void walkers breaking through and cosmic balance failing. Maybe it's time for something new, a god who remembers what it means to be human. For a moment, the divine figure remained impassive. Then, slowly, it smiled. Interesting. Most who reach this point either reject divinity entirely or eagerly abandon their humanity. You refuse both extremes. I've never been good at following expectations, Naruto grinned. Indeed. The divine figure extended its hand, which shimmered with cosmic power. Let us see if this integration you propose is even possible. Naruto clasped the offered hand without hesitation. Like before, the figure dissolved into light, but this time, the energy was overwhelming, a torrent of cosmic awareness and divine power flooding into him. For a moment, it seemed too much, threatening to wash away his human identity entirely. Hold on, Kit. Kurama growled, his presence surging forward to help contain the influx. Don't lose yourself. Naruto focused on his connections, to Konoha, to his friends, to Kurama, to the new bonds forming on Olympus. He used them as anchors, keeping his humanity intact while accepting the divine awareness. Gradually, the energies stabilized, integrating rather than competing. The Valley of the End dissolved, reforming into a new location, a vast cosmic space filled with stars and nebulae, yet somehow reminiscent of his mindscape where he communicated with Kurama. In this space waited a third figure, neither his human nor divine self, but something else. A massive celestial dragon, its scales containing galaxies, its eyes ancient and knowing. The original, Naruto realized. The primordial dragon essence. Young one, the dragon acknowledged, its voice reverberating through Naruto's entire being. You approach the final reconciliation. Are you another aspect of me? Naruto asked. I am and am not. I am the original divine template from which your godhood derives, the cosmic pattern that shaped your divine essence. Not your personality, but the foundation of your divine nature. The celestial dragon that gave a tear of its blood, Naruto guessed, remembering the crystal he'd found. Yes. When Ria needed to hide one twin beyond Kronos' reach, I offered my essence as protection and guidance. My blood would allow you to survive in another realm without losing your divine spark entirely, dormant though it remained until needed. The dragon circled Naruto in the cosmic space, studying him from every angle. You have done well to integrate your human experience with your awakening divinity. But one question remains, why should you reclaim this power? What purpose will you serve with it? Naruto considered carefully. This felt like the core of the Labyrinth's test. To protect, he answered finally. Both worlds, both aspects of myself. To maintain balance not through detached oversight but through genuine connection and understanding of what's at stake. A worthy purpose, the dragon acknowledged. But balance requires sacrifice. What would you sacrifice to maintain cosmic harmony? Naruto didn't hesitate. Whatever is necessary, except my core principles. I won't sacrifice compassion for power or connection for authority. Even if holding to those principles means failing in your larger duty, the dragon challenged. The principles are the duty, Naruto insisted. What's the point of maintaining cosmic balance if we lose what makes existence worthwhile in the process? I believe that compassion and connection aren't weaknesses in a divine guardian, they're essential qualities that give purpose to power. The cosmic space rippled as the labyrinth processed this philosophy. The celestial dragon regarded Naruto for what felt like eons, its ancient eyes peering into his very soul. Finally, it spoke again. You redefine the terms of your godhood. Interesting. The previous dragon gods maintained balance through cosmic detachment tempered by wisdom. You propose to maintain it through connection reinforced by compassion. A new approach for new challenges. Will it work? Naruto asked. Unknown, the dragon admitted. But the old methods have failed as the cosmos evolved. Perhaps new methods are indeed required. The celestial dragon began to glow more intensely, its form expanding to fill the cosmic space. Accept the fullness of your heritage, Naruto Uzumaki, with both its power and its responsibility. The choice of how to wield it remains yours, as does the consequence of that choice. The dragon's form exploded into pure light that engulfed Naruto completely. This time, there was no sense of conflict or struggle, the essence flowed into him naturally, as if recognizing its rightful vessel. When the light faded, Naruto stood alone in a simple circular chamber with a single exit archway. He felt different, more complete, his dual nature no longer competing but harmonized. His chakra and divine essence flowed together like complementary currents in the same river. That was intense, Kurama commented, his voice clearer now. How do you feel? Whole, Naruto replied simply. Like I found something I didn't know was missing. He approached the archway, which showed only darkness beyond. Taking a deep breath, he stepped through, and emerged back in the temple above, where the gods waited exactly as he'd left them. From their perspective, no time had passed at all. He returns, Zeus announced, studying Naruto with narrowed eyes. Changed. Naruto realized he had physically transformed during his time in the labyrinth. Golden scales now permanently adorned his forearms and traced patterns along his neck and face. His eyes had permanently shifted to their draconic state, still blue, but with slitted pupils and flecks of gold. The labyrinth has acknowledged him, Athena observed. His dual nature is harmonized. Hera stepped forward, offering the celestial lance. Welcome back, Dragon God. As Naruto took the weapon, it resonated with his transformed energy, shifting to match his new state. The lance's glow intensified, patterns along its shaft aligning with the scale markings on Naruto's skin. The second trial is past, Zeus declared, though he didn't sound entirely pleased about it. Rest and prepare. The final trial, the Judgment of Souls, begins tomorrow at noon. As the gods dispersed, Naruto found himself flanked by Hera and Aphrodite, both studying his transformation with interest. The scales suit you, Aphrodite commented, trailing a finger along the golden markings on his cheek. Very exotic. How do you feel? Hera asked more pragmatically. Different, Naruto admitted. More, connected to everything. I can feel the boundaries between realms now, sense the imbalances. Your divine awareness is fully awakening, Hera explained. With each trial, more of your inherent power activates. I could feel the void walkers while in the labyrinth, Naruto added grimly. They're growing stronger, more numerous. We don't have much time. One more trial, Aphrodite reminded him. Then Zeus must acknowledge you formally, and together you can address the threat. If he acknowledges me, Naruto pointed out. He doesn't seem thrilled about the prospect. Zeus will honor the trials, Hera assured him. Whatever his personal feelings, he respects divine protocol. If you pass the Judgment of Souls, he must accept you as his equal. Naruto wasn't entirely convinced, but he nodded. Then I'll pass it. Whatever it takes. The rest of the day passed in preparation for the final trial. Hera explained that the Judgment of Souls typically fell under Hades' domain, but for this trial, Naruto would temporarily assume the role of judge, assessing the worthiness of souls for either Elysium or punishment. It tests divine discernment, she explained as they walked through a quiet grove near the Eastern Palace. The ability to perceive truth beyond surface appearances, to understand motivation and circumstance, to balance justice with mercy. So I'll be deciding people's afterlives? Naruto asked, uncomfortable with the concept. Not permanently, Hera assured him. These will be souls already judged, their cases reopened for your trial. Your judgments will be compared to their actual fates to determine your divine insight. No pressure, Naruto muttered. There's more to it than simply getting the right answer, Hera continued. The trial measures your understanding of divine justice itself, how you balance cosmic order with individual circumstance. Like the labyrinth tested my understanding of divine nature, Naruto realized. Exactly. Each trial reveals a different aspect of godhood, power, nature, and now judgment. Hera glanced at him. Your approach to the first 2 trials was unconventional. I suspect the third will be no different. Is that a problem? Not necessarily. She smiled slightly. Unconventional doesn't mean incorrect. The cosmos evolves, perhaps divine methods should as well. They walked in comfortable silence for a while, Naruto acutely aware of Hera's presence beside him. His heightened divine senses perceived more than just her physical form, he could feel her divine essence, complex and powerful, resonating with his own in subtle harmony. I can see why we were matched, he said suddenly, then immediately felt awkward about the blunt statement. Hera didn't seem offended. Divine pairings are rarely random. Complementary energies, compatible purposes. She glanced at him. Though the actual personalities involved don't always align as neatly. And ours? Naruto asked cautiously. Are surprisingly compatible, she admitted. Those circumstances have made exploration complicated. Before Naruto could pursue this intriguing comment, they were interrupted by Hermes appearing in a blur of speed. Sorry to disturb your peaceful stroll, the messenger god said, not sounding particularly sorry, but we have a situation. Void servants have breached Olympus's outer defenses. Minor incursion, contained for now, but concerning nonetheless. Where? Naruto asked, instantly alert. The Western Gardens. Artemis and Apollo are handling it, but Zeus requested your presence. Hermes gave Naruto an appraising look. Apparently he wants to see how your powers are developing. A test before the test, Hera observed dryly. Let's go, Naruto decided, the lance materializing in his grip from its armored state. Hermes transported them instantly to the western edge of Olympus, where chaos had erupted in what was normally a serene garden. Shadowy figures, vaguely humanoid but constantly shifting form, moved with unnatural speed among the divine foliage, which withered at their touch. Artemis and Apollo fought back to back, she with silver arrows that temporarily disrupted the shadows' forms, he with golden light that seemed to pain but not destroy them. They're stronger than before, Apollo called as he noticed their arrival. And more focused. Naruto studied the shadow creatures with his enhanced senses. They weren't fully in this reality, parts of them existed in some other dimension, making conventional attacks partially ineffective. They're not really here, he realized. At least not completely. They're projecting into our realm from the void. Zeus appeared in a thunderclap, lightning crackling around his hands. Then send them back, he commanded, unleashing a devastating bolt at the nearest shadow. The lightning struck with tremendous force, dispersing the creature temporarily, but within seconds, it reformed, apparently unharmed. Conventional divine energy doesn't work, Naruto observed. They feed on it, adapt to it. He remembered what the great toad sage had told him. The lance allowed him to channel both mortal chakra and divine essence together, a combination the void could not devour. I have an idea, he told Zeus. But I need you to distract them for a moment. Zeus looked like he might object to taking orders, but the urgency of the situation won out. He nodded curtly and unleashed a barrage of lightning that kept the shadows occupied without actually destroying them. Naruto closed his eyes, concentrating on the celestial lance. He channeled his unique dual energy into the weapon, not just divine essence, but chakra as well, specifically sage chakra that connected to the natural energy of this realm. The lance transformed, its twin blades separating and orbiting the shaft like a double helix. Golden-orange energy, neither purely divine nor purely mortal, spiraled along its length. Get clear! Naruto shouted to the other gods. Then he plunged the transformed lance into the ground at the center of the garden. Energy erupted from the weapon, spreading in a perfect circle that cut across dimensions. Where it touched the shadow creatures, they shrieked, an unsettling sound that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Unlike Zeus's lightning, this energy didn't just disperse them, it severed their connection to the void, forcing them fully into the divine realm where they could no longer sustain themselves. One by one, the shadows collapsed into nothingness, truly destroyed rather than merely displaced. Within moments, the garden was clear of intruders. Naruto pulled the lance from the ground, its form returning to normal as the excess energy dissipated. He turned to find Zeus, Artemis, and Apollo staring at him with varying expressions of surprise and assessment. Impressive, Zeus acknowledged grudgingly. You perceived their true nature and countered it effectively. How did you know what would work? Artemis asked, slinging her bow over her shoulder. The lance can cut across dimensions, Naruto explained. I just had to force them fully into this reality where they couldn't maintain their form. The combined energies were key, Apollo observed thoughtfully. Neither purely divine nor purely mortal, but something new. They couldn't adapt to it. Zeus studied Naruto with calculated interest. Your control has improved significantly since your arrival. The Labyrinth's integration has accelerated your development. Just in time, it seems, Naruto replied, gesturing to the withered plants where the shadow creatures had been. They're getting bolder, testing our defenses directly now. And yet their timing is suspicious, Zeus noted. 3 trials, 3 increasingly aggressive incursions. You think they're targeting me specifically? I think they fear what your full awakening represents. Zeus's expression was unreadable. As do others. With that cryptic comment, the thunder god vanished in his customary lightning display, leaving Naruto to wonder exactly where he stood in Zeus's estimation. Don't mind him, Apollo advised cheerfully. That's practically a declaration of respect by Zeus standards. He hasn't tried to smite you even once, which is more consideration than most of his actual children get. Artemis rolled her eyes at her twin. What Apollo is trying to say is that you've impressed our father, whether he admits it or not. Few beings can demonstrate power he doesn't already possess. The question remains, Hermes interjected, why the Void Walkers are so intent on preventing your ascension. What do they fear you might do once fully empowered? Seal them away permanently, Naruto guessed. According to the great Toad Sage, that's what the twin gods were supposed to do together, dragon and thunder united. Which explains their increasing desperation, Hera concluded. Tomorrow's trial is the final step before your formal acknowledgement. They'll throw everything they have at preventing it. Naruto looked at the withered garden, evidence of the void's corruptive touch. Let them try. I didn't come this far to fail now. That night, Naruto couldn't sleep. The Eastern Palace felt restless, its energy responding to his pre-trial anxiety. He paced the gardens, watching as the plants seemed to follow his movements, turning toward him like sunflowers tracking the sun. Your power affects your surroundings even unconsciously now, observed Aphrodite, appearing on a nearby bench in a shimmer of pink light. She wore a simple chiton that somehow managed to be both modest and alluring. The mark of true divinity. I thought everyone was resting before tomorrow's excitement, Naruto said, surprised by her presence. Gods don't really need sleep, she replied with a shrug. It's more of a pleasant diversion than a necessity. Besides, she added with a playful smile, I thought you might appreciate some company on your last night as a, what shall we call it? Divine candidate? Is that what I am? Naruto sat beside her, close but not too close. For a few more hours. Aphrodite studied his transformed features in the moonlight, reaching out to trace the scale patterns along his jaw. After tomorrow, you'll be fully acknowledged. Your place in the divine order will be official. If I pass the trial, Naruto reminded her. You will. Her confidence seemed absolute. You've already transformed more completely than anyone expected. The judgment is just a formality at this point. Naruto wasn't so certain. Zeus doesn't seem eager to welcome me to the family. Zeus fears change almost as much as he fears rivals, Aphrodite explained. And you represent both. But even he can't deny the evidence of his senses or the results of the divine trials. Her smile turned mischievous. Besides, I've been working on him. You have? Reminding him how much easier his duties would be with a competent partner managing the interdimensional aspects. How having you focus on balance would free him to focus on order. She winked. Playing to his ego and self-interest works wonders. Naruto laughed. You're devious. I prefer strategically persuasive. She shifted closer, her divine perfume, somehow different for each person who encountered it, enveloping him. For Naruto, it smelled like ramen, forest air, and something exotic he couldn't identify. But we're not here to talk about Zeus, are we? What are we here to talk about? Naruto asked, suddenly very aware of her proximity. The future. Possibilities. Her voice lowered to a sultry register. The prophecy mentioned divine consorts for both twins, you know. So I've heard, Naruto managed, his mouth suddenly dry. Though no one seems clear on the details. Prophecies rarely are, Aphrodite agreed. But they did mention balance in all things, including personal arrangements. Her hand rested lightly on his arm, where scales met skin. Zeus has his queen in Hera, for official matters of state and divine order. And unofficially? Naruto asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. Aphrodite's smile was knowing. He has always sought other companionship for matters of passion and emotional connection, qualities Hera embodies but has rarely shown him due to their complicated history. Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? I'm suggesting nothing, she replied innocently. Merely observing parallels and possibilities. Her fingers traced patterns on his arm, sending pleasant shivers through him. Hera is drawn to you, your authenticity, your integrity, qualities Zeus once possessed but has compromised over centuries of rule. And you? Naruto asked boldly, meeting her color-shifting eyes. What draws you? Everything new and uncorrupted draws me, Aphrodite answered honestly. But you're something special. A being of genuine passion and connection in a realm where those qualities have become performative or transactional. She leaned closer. You love deeply, protect fiercely, connect authentically. Those are my true domains, beyond the physical desire most associate with me. There was a vulnerability in her admission that surprised Naruto. Beneath the playful seduction, Aphrodite revealed a depth that he suspected few bothered to discover. The love goddess seeking real love, he observed softly. Ironic, isn't it? Her smile turned wistful. I embody an ideal that I rarely experience personally. Gods desire me for my beauty, my divine domain, the status of my attention. Few seek the person beneath the power. I find the person more interesting than the goddess, Naruto told her sincerely. Aphrodite's expression softened with genuine pleasure. And that, dragon god, is precisely why you're dangerous to the divine status quo. You see beyond surface and symbol to substance. She leaned forward and kissed him, not the playful peck from earlier, but something deeper, a genuine connection that conveyed more than mere physical desire. Naruto responded in kind, drawn to the authentic vulnerability beneath her divine perfection. When they finally separated, her eyes had darkened to a deep violet. I should let you rest before tomorrow's trial, she murmured, though she made no move to leave. Probably, Naruto agreed, equally stationary. They regarded each other in the moonlight, mutual attraction mingling with the complexity of divine politics and prophecy. Finally, Aphrodite sighed and stood gracefully. Timing matters, even for immortals, she said. After your acknowledgement, when your position is secure, we can explore these possibilities more thoroughly. She bent to kiss him once more, briefly but with promise, then stepped back. Good luck tomorrow, dragon god. The future of Olympus may depend on your judgment, in more ways than one. With a shimmering transition that left behind the scent of roses, she vanished, leaving Naruto alone with thoughts more complex than before her visit. The Hall of Judgment was located in a neutral territory between Olympus and the underworld, a massive amphitheater built from black marble that seemed to absorb light. 3 ornate thrones dominated the central dais, places for Zeus, Hades, and now temporarily, Naruto. The assembled gods filled the tiered seating, creating an imposing audience for the final trial. Hades himself escorted Naruto to the dais, the underworld god's expression solemn beneath his crown of darkness. The judgment of souls is not to be taken lightly, he instructed as they approached. Each case will present complex moral and cosmic questions. There are rarely simple answers. I understand, Naruto replied, taking his designated throne with appropriate gravity. The seat felt cold beneath him, radiating an ancient power that assessed his worthiness to occupy it. Zeus appeared in his customary thunderclap, taking the central throne. He wore formal regalia, a royal chiton with cosmic designs, a crown of lightning that sparked with contained power. The third trial begins, he announced, his voice carrying effortlessly through the vast space. The claimant will judge 3 souls, balancing cosmic law against individual circumstance. Divine wisdom against mortal compassion. Hades raised his staff, and a misty portal opened before the thrones. From it emerged a transparent figure, the ghost of a middle-aged man in ancient Greek military attire. Lycus of Athens, Hades intoned. General who won many battles through deceit and treachery. He betrayed allies, broke sacred oaths, and ordered the execution of prisoners. Yet his victories protected his city and saved countless Athenian lives. The ghost stood silently, awaiting judgment. The facts of his afterlife are known to us, Zeus stated. But the claimant must render judgment anew, demonstrating divine discernment. Where does this soul belong? Elysium for heroes, the fields of asphodel for ordinary souls, or Tartarus for the wicked? All eyes turned to Naruto. He studied the ghost carefully, using his enhanced divine senses to perceive beyond the visible form to the essence beneath. He could feel the complexity of the man's life, the pride in protecting his city warring with shame at his methods, the pragmatic calculation that overrode personal honor. I would know more about his motivations, Naruto said, surprising the assembly. Did he break oaths for personal glory or to protect his people? Did he betray allies who had already proven untrustworthy, or did he strike first for mere advantage? Zeus frowned at this unorthodox approach, but Hades seemed intrigued. You may question the soul directly, he permitted. Naruto addressed the ghost. Why did you choose treachery over honor in war? The ghost's voice echoed strangely, as if coming from a great distance. Honor is a luxury purchased with the blood of others. I commanded farmers and merchants pressed into service, not professional warriors. Every honorable battle meant more Athenian widows, more orphan children. The ghost's form flickered with emotion. I chose effectiveness over glory, survival over honor. And the executed prisoners? Spartan spies, confirmed by evidence. Their deaths prevented the fall of Athens. I took no pleasure in it, only necessity. Naruto considered this, feeling the truth in the ghost's words but also the rationalization. Did you benefit personally from these choices? Wealth, power, status? I lived simply and died in battle, the ghost replied. My reward was seeing Athens stand while I fell. Naruto made his decision. This soul belongs neither in Tartarus nor Elysium, but in a special section of the fields of asphodel, where he may counsel future leaders on the complex balance between necessity and honor. His wisdom was earned through difficult choices that saved lives but cost his own peace. He should neither be punished nor glorified, but his experience should serve others. Murmurs rippled through the divine assembly at this unexpected judgment. Zeus and Hades exchanged glances. An unusual verdict, Zeus noted. The actual judgment placed him in the outer regions of Elysium, acknowledging his service while recognizing his methods. My judgment differs in form but aligns in principle, Naruto responded confidently. Divine justice should serve cosmic purpose, in this case, using hard-won wisdom to guide others while neither condemning necessary pragmatism nor celebrating dishonorable methods. Hades nodded slowly. The reasoning demonstrates divine discernment, if unconventionally expressed. The ghost faded as Hades summoned the next case, a young woman in simple clothing, her form particularly insubstantial as if she had left little impression on the world. Melena of Corinth, Hades introduced. Neither virtuous nor wicked in life. She broke no laws but performed no notable good deeds. She neither harmed nor particularly helped others. An unremarkable life by all measures. This case seemed straightforward, surely the fields of asphodel, the neutral afterlife for ordinary souls. But Naruto sensed there was more to this test than appeared on the surface. I would know about her opportunities, he requested. Was she capable of more than she achieved? Hades provided context. She was of average intelligence, possessed modest resources, and enjoyed reasonable good health. No extraordinary talents, but no significant limitations either. Naruto addressed the ghost directly. Why did you choose a neutral path in life? Were you afraid, indifferent, or simply content with mediocrity? The ghost's voice was faint, almost embarrassed. I wanted to avoid notice. To neither rise so high that others would envy me, nor sink so low that I would be despised. I sought safety in invisibility. Was there nothing you cared deeply about? No cause or person that moved you to action? I cared, the ghost admitted. About many things. But caring leads to pain when you fail, or judgment when you succeed. It seemed wiser to observe life than to participate fully in it. Naruto felt a profound sadness from this soul, not evil, but fundamentally unfulfilled. A life defined by the avoidance of risk rather than the pursuit of meaning. This soul belongs initially in the fields of asphodel, he judged, but with a path to advancement. She avoided both significant harm and meaningful good out of fear, not malice. Her punishment should be to witness the consequences of inaction, to see how even small acts of courage or kindness might have changed lives around her. Once she truly understands what she forfeited through caution, she should have the opportunity to counsel living souls against wasting their potential through fear of failure or judgment. Zeus raised an eyebrow at this nuanced verdict. The actual judgment placed her permanently in asphodel, considering neither reward nor punishment appropriate for a life so deliberately neutral. Divine justice should be transformative, not merely punitive or rewarding, Naruto argued. A soul that chose neutrality from fear rather than indifference deserves the chance to learn and evolve. Permanent stagnation replicates the very limitation she imposed on herself in life. Hades seemed impressed by this reasoning. The purpose of afterlife has rarely been questioned in our judgments, whether it exists merely to categorize souls based on past actions, or to continue their development. An interesting philosophical perspective. The final case appeared, a man in rich clothing whose ghost seemed unusually substantial, as if his impact on the world had been significant. Demetrios of Syracuse, Hades announced. A merchant who amassed tremendous wealth through questionable means, exploiting legal loopholes, manipulating markets, pressuring competitors. Yet he donated generously to temples, funded public works, and established orphanages. His charity was genuine but also calculated to enhance his reputation and influence. This case presented the most complex balance of motivations, neither wholly selfish nor truly altruistic. Naruto studied the ghost carefully. Did you consider your charitable works as reparation for your business practices, or were they separate in your mind? The ghost answered with surprising candor. Both. I recognize that my success came partly through others' hardship. The charitable works eased my conscience while enhancing my standing. But I also genuinely believed wealth carried responsibility to improve society. If you could have made the same fortune through entirely ethical means, but with more effort and time, would you have chosen that path? The ghost hesitated. I cannot honestly say I would have. Opportunity rarely announces itself as ethical or unethical until one has already grasped it. Naruto appreciated the honesty. Final question, did you believe your charitable works outweighed the harm caused by your business methods? I believe they did more immediate, visible good, the ghost admitted. But I never fully calculated the invisible harms, the families struggling because I undercut a competitor, the artisans unable to continue traditions because my imported goods destroyed their market. I chose to see what flattered my self-image. This level of self-awareness impressed Naruto. His judgment formed clearly. This soul should divide his afterlife between Elysium and service, he declared. 3 days in Elysium, where his genuine charity is rewarded, followed by 4 days guiding living merchants toward ethical prosperity. His unique perspective, understanding both the temptations of unethical business and the importance of social responsibility, makes him valuable as a guide to others at similar crossroads. He neither deserves pure reward nor pure service, but a balance reflecting his mixed legacy. Zeus leaned forward, genuinely interested in this verdict. The actual judgment placed him permanently in the upper regions of Asphodel, with occasional visits to Elysium during religious festivals, a compromise between his virtues and failings. Again, your reasoning demonstrates unusual perspective, Hades noted. You see afterlife as an extension of life's purpose, continued growth and service, rather than merely its conclusion and reward. The divine perspective shouldn't just be longer than the mortal view, Naruto explained, but more purposeful. Why waste the wisdom souls gain through their mistakes and achievements? True justice serves not just the individual soul but the cosmic order. Zeus studied Naruto thoughtfully. Your judgments consistently emphasize transformation over finality, service over mere categorization. An unconventional approach to divine justice. But not an incorrect one, Hades interjected. The claimant demonstrates profound understanding of both individual souls and cosmic purpose. His judgments, while structured differently than our traditional approach, reflect genuine divine wisdom. Zeus was silent for a long moment, the assembled gods watching anxiously for his verdict on Naruto's performance. The third trial is complete, he finally announced. The claimant has demonstrated divine discernment, balancing justice with mercy, cosmic law with individual circumstance. Though his methods differ from tradition, his wisdom cannot be denied. A wave of relief passed through Naruto. He had passed the final test. Zeus rose from his throne, addressing the divine assembly. 3 trials set, 3 trials passed. The claimant has proven his power against the hydra, reconciled his dual nature in the labyrinth, and demonstrated divine wisdom in the hall of judgment. He turned to Naruto, their identical blue eyes meeting in a moment of reckoning. I recognize you, Naruto Uzumaki, as the dragon god of Olympus, guardian of cosmic balance, keeper of the paths between realms, and my brother. The formal acknowledgement sent a surge of power through Naruto, completing the divine transformation that had been building through the trials. The remaining traces of his mortal limitations fell away, replaced by full divine awareness. Yet his human perspective and connections remained intact, integrated rather than supplanted, exactly as he had insisted in the labyrinth. The assembled gods erupted in a chorus of congratulations and acclamation. Hera's smile was radiant, Aphrodite's wink promising. Even Athena, who had been skeptical, inclined her head in respect. But before the celebration could truly begin, the entire hall of judgment shuddered violently. Black cracks appeared in the marble floor, spreading rapidly toward the central dais. The temperature plummeted as unnatural shadows gathered in every corner. They come, Hades warned, his staff glowing with protective energy. The void breaches our most sacred neutral ground. From the spreading cracks emerged figures far more substantial than the shadow servants they had faced before. These were the true void walkers, massive humanoid shapes composed of what appeared to be living darkness, with star-like points of cold light where eyes should be. The prophecy fulfills, their leader hissed in a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Dragon and thunder reunited. We cannot permit it. Zeus and Naruto exchanged glances, centuries of separation momentarily forgotten in the face of this common threat. Without words, they moved in perfect synchronicity, Zeus calling his thunderbolts to hand, Naruto summoning the celestial lance. Olympians, defend the hall. Zeus commanded as more void walkers emerged. The prophecy will be completed today, for good or ill. The gods rallied, drawing weapons and summoning divine powers. Hades raised protective barriers around the assembly while Poseidon called water from deep beneath the earth to combat the shadow beings. Apollo and Artemis rained arrows of light from elevated positions, while Athena coordinated the defensive formation with strategic precision. As chaos erupted around them, Naruto found himself back-to-back with his newly acknowledged twin, the dragon and thunder gods united at last against their ancient enemy. "Ready, brother?" Zeus asked, lightning crackling between his fingers. Naruto grinned, the celestial lance glowing with combined divine and chakra energy. "I was born ready. Let's show these void creatures what happens when they mess with our worlds." The twins launched their attack simultaneously, divine power radiating from their perfect synchronization. The prophecy was fulfilling itself in ways no one had anticipated, not in peaceful governance, but in desperate battle against forces that threatened all realms. Divided they had fallen into imbalance. United, they would command all, if they survived the coming conflict. Chapter 3, Divine Reconciliation. The Hall of Judgment erupted into chaos. Void walkers poured through reality fractures like living darkness, their forms solidifying as they entered fully into the divine realm. Gods scattered, drawing weapons and calling on their powers as the ancient enemy advanced. Naruto and Zeus stood at the center of the storm, back to back, divine energy crackling around them. They've been waiting for this, Naruto realized, the lance humming with power in his grip. For us to be together, acknowledged as twins. Makes attacking us more efficient, Zeus agreed grimly, thunderbolts materializing in both hands. 2 targets, 1 location. A massive void walker, nearly twice the size of the others, with a crown of cold starlight, pointed at the divine twins. The prophecy ends here. The balance remains broken. Zeus hurled a thunderbolt that should have vaporized any normal enemy. The lightning struck the crowned void walker directly in its chest, and vanished, absorbed without effect. "Okay, that's new," Naruto muttered. "Divine energy feeds them," Hades called, swinging his staff to create a barrier between the advancing shadows and the assembled gods. Conventional attacks strengthened them. Naruto remembered the strategy that had worked against the shadow servants. "We need to combine our powers, not just divine energy, but something they can't adapt to." Zeus glanced at him skeptically. "What do you suggest, brother?" Hearing Zeus call him brother without sarcasm gave Naruto a surprising rush of connection. "Follow my lead." He channeled chakra into the lance, creating a familiar spiraling pattern, the foundation of his Rasengan technique. The weapon responded, its twin blades spinning to contain the growing energy. "Add your lightning, but not pure divine lightning. Something more, raw." Zeus seemed to understand intuitively. Instead of his refined thunderbolts, he channeled primal storm energy, the natural lightning of the mortal world, amplified by divine will but not fully converted to godly power. When their energies combined in the lance, the result was spectacular, a spiraling vortex of golden blue power that cut across dimensional boundaries. Naruto drove the weapon into the nearest void walker. The creature shrieked as the combined energy tore through its form, disrupting the multidimensional structure that allowed it to exist between realities. Unlike the shadow servants, it didn't immediately dissipate, but the wound didn't heal either. "It worked!" Naruto shouted. "They can't absorb hybrid energy." Zeus grinned, a fierce expression rarely seen on the thunder god's usually stern face. "Then let's give them more than they can handle." Around them, other gods caught on to the strategy. Apollo combined his divine light with mortal fire. Artemis wove moonlight with forest energy into her arrows. Athena infused her spear with both divine wisdom and mortal ingenuity. Naruto created shadow clones, now enhanced with divine power, that spread throughout the hall, each wielding a portion of his hybrid energy. They engaged void walkers on multiple fronts, preventing the creatures from focusing their assault on any single target. "Nice trick," Zeus commented, watching the clones in action. "Useful." "One of many," Naruto replied, already forming hand signs for his next technique. He entered Sage mode, the transformation now enhanced by his divine nature. Natural energy flowed through him alongside godly power, creating a uniquely balanced force. Golden dragon markings appeared over his sage pigmentation, his eyes combining the horizontal toad pupils with vertical dragon slits in a striking crosshatch pattern. "What is that?" Zeus demanded, momentarily distracted by his brother's transformation. "Sage mode. Mortal technique that draws on natural energy." Naruto flexed his enhanced muscles. "Let's see how the void likes this combo." He charged the crowned leader, moving with impossible speed. The lance extended in his grip, morphing into a trident-like form as he attacked. Zeus, recognizing the opportunity, launched synchronized lightning strikes that matched Naruto's rhythm perfectly. The Void Lord, for that was clearly its rank, defended with surprising skill, manipulating dimensional tiers to dodge and counterattack. Where Naruto struck with the lance, the creature opened reality rifts to divert the blow. When Zeus's lightning approached, it shifted partially into another dimension to avoid damage. "It can manipulate the boundaries between realms," Naruto called. "Just like I'm supposed to." "Then stop it from doing so," Zeus responded, hurling another carefully calibrated thunderbolt. "That's your domain, Dragon God." Naruto realized Zeus was right. As Dragon God, his purpose included maintaining the boundaries between realms. That authority extended to preventing others from breaching those boundaries. He focused on his newly awakened divine senses, perceiving the dimensional manipulations the Void Lord was performing. Each time it opened a reality tear, Naruto could feel the disruption in the cosmic fabric. "I can see it," he murmured. "I can counter it." The next time the Void Lord attempted to open a dimensional rift, Naruto extended his will, not attacking the creature directly, but reinforcing reality around it, blocking its escape route. Caught by surprise, the Void Lord couldn't evade Zeus's next lightning blast, which struck with devastating impact. The creature staggered but didn't fall. "Impressive, godlings," it hissed. "But we have prepared for this confrontation since before your births." It raised skeletal hands, and the smaller Void Walkers suddenly changed tactics. Instead of engaging the gods directly, they merged into the floor, walls, and ceiling of the Hall of Judgment. "They're corrupting the structure," Hades warned. "This is neutral territory. If it falls to the void, the balance between Olympus and the underworld collapses." The very foundation of divine order trembled as darkness spread through the ancient marble. Gods who had been successfully fighting individual walkers now found themselves struggling against the hall itself as floor sections collapsed and columns toppled. "We need to purify the structure," Athena called, leaping to avoid a suddenly animated section of flooring that grabbed at her ankles. "But conventional divine energy will only make them stronger," Naruto finished. He looked to Zeus, an idea forming. "Brother, we need to synchronize on a larger scale. Not just our attacks, but our entire divine signatures." Zeus frowned. "That's never been done. Divine essences naturally repel each other, it's why gods maintain separate domains." "But we're twins," Naruto countered. "Two halves of the same original power. Dragon and thunder, divided shall fall, united command all." Zeus completed the prophecy, understanding dawning. "It's worth attempting." The thunder god extended his hand. After a moment's hesitation, Naruto clasped it with his own. Instantly, divine energy surged between them, not combating or competing, but resonating, amplifying. "The prophecy is true," Zeus murmured, sounding surprised despite himself. Around them, the battle continued. Hera and Aphrodite fought side by side, combining their very different divine aspects with surprising effectiveness. Poseidon and Hades, brothers who rarely cooperated, found themselves protecting each other against animated shadows. Apollo and Artemis moved in twin harmony, their complementary powers creating a barrier of silver-gold light that temporarily held back the spreading corruption. But the Void Lord's power was immense, drawing strength from the very imbalance its kind had helped create over centuries. The corruption continued to spread despite the gods' best efforts. We need to take this to another level, Naruto decided. Not just synchronize, but combine our powers completely. Zeus looked skeptical. That would require lowering all divine barriers. Becoming temporarily vulnerable. Trust, brother, Naruto said simply. It's the one thing they don't expect from gods. Something shifted in Zeus's expression, a softening of his eternal suspicion, a recognition of something long forgotten. He nodded once, decisively. What do you propose? Naruto grinned, that familiar determined expression that had preceded so many impossible victories in his shinobi life. Something dramatic. You're good at dramatic, right? He quickly outlined a plan that made even Zeus raise an eyebrow in surprise. That's either brilliant or suicidal, the thunder god commented. Story of my life, Naruto replied cheerfully. Ready? Zeus nodded, and they separated, moving to opposite sides of the corrupted hall. The Void Lord tracked their movement with cold star eyes, suspicious of their strategy. Olympians! Zeus roared, his voice cutting through the chaos of battle. To me! Divine instinct responded to the king's command. Gods disengaged from their individual battles, using various powers to transport themselves to Zeus's position. Within moments, half the Olympian pantheon stood with the thunder god, creating a focal point of tremendous power. Simultaneously, Naruto called out, "Children of other realms! Stand with the dragon!" This unusual call resonated differently, not commanding obedience through authority, but requesting alliance through connection. Kurama's power surged within Naruto, responding to the call. More surprisingly, divine beings with connections to other realms, Hermes the boundary crosser, Artemis with her ties to wild spaces, Hecate of the crossroads, felt drawn to Naruto's position. The Void Lord sensed the strategy too late. Stop them, it commanded its forces, but the corrupted hall had spread them too thin. Zeus began to spin his thunderbolt overhead, creating a growing vortex of pure storm energy. Lightning arced between the gods gathered around him, their diverse divine powers flowing into the central current, strengthening it. Across the hall, Naruto held the celestial lance vertically, channeling combined chakra, sage energy, and Kurama's power into the weapon. The realm-connected gods around him contributed their boundary-crossing aspects, creating a golden vortex that mirrored Zeus's blue one. Now, both brothers shouted simultaneously. They launched their vortexes toward each other, not attacking, but connecting. The two energy columns met in the center of the hall, directly above the Void Lord. For a moment, they pushed against each other, divine nature resisting combination. Push harder! Naruto shouted, pouring more of himself into the connection. Break the barrier! Zeus roared with effort, his thunderbolt vortex intensifying. The competing energies grew brighter, the point where they met becoming a blinding nexus of power. Then suddenly, the resistance collapsed. Blue and gold energies merged, swirling together in a perfect double helix of power. The combined vortex expanded explosively, filling the entire hall with purifying light that cut across all dimensional boundaries. The effect on the void corruption was immediate and devastating. Darkness hissed and evaporated wherever the combined light touched. The smaller void walkers, merged with the corrupted structure, shrieked as they were forcibly expelled from the material they had infiltrated. But the Void Lord remained, diminished but not defeated. It gathered the remnants of its forces, creating a protective shell of pure void energy around itself. This changes nothing, it snarled. You cannot maintain this unity. Gods are defined by separation, by domain boundaries. It is your nature. Maybe the old gods, Naruto countered, advancing with the lance at ready. We're trying something new. The merged power of the twins continued to purify the hall, restoring its ancient neutrality. But the Void Lord was adapting, analyzing the combination, seeking weaknesses. It found one, the connection point between Zeus and Naruto, where their very different divine essences struggled to remain unified. With a sudden thrust of void energy, it attacked precisely that junction. Naruto sensed the attack a split second before Zeus did. Without hesitation, he threw himself into its path, taking the full force of the void energy rather than allowing it to sever their connection. The impact was catastrophic. Void energy, specifically calibrated to attack divine essence, tore through Naruto's defenses. Golden ichor, the blood of gods, spattered across the restored marble as he fell, the lance clattering from his grip. Naruto. Zeus's voice held something few had ever heard, genuine fear. The thunder god unleashed his rage at the Void Lord, but without the dragon connection, his attacks once again lost effectiveness. The Void Lord laughed, a horrible sound like reality tearing. As I said. Divided, you fall. It advanced on the fallen dragon god, void energy gathering for a killing blow. But someone else reached Naruto first. Hera knelt beside him, her hands glowing with golden light as she attempted to heal the void wound. It resisted her efforts, continuing to spread through Naruto's divine form. Stay with us, she whispered urgently. The prophecy isn't complete yet. You haven't fulfilled your purpose. Naruto's eyes flickered open, the draconic gold dimmed to a fading ember. Sorry, wasn't very godlike of me, getting stabbed like that. He coughed, golden ichor staining his lips. On the contrary, Aphrodite said, dropping to her knees beside Hera. Self-sacrifice is perhaps the most godlike action possible. And the rarest. She placed her hands alongside Hera's, adding her own divine energy to the healing attempt. But the void corruption continued to spread. Zeus fought desperately to keep the Void Lord at bay, but without the twin connection, he couldn't land decisive blows. Other gods rallied to his aid, but their attacks showed diminishing returns as the void adapted. The wound resists conventional healing, Hera said, frustration evident in her voice. It's designed specifically to corrupt divine essence. Aphrodite's eyes narrowed in concentration. Then we need unconventional healing. She looked at Hera. You were meant to be his divine consort in the original prophecy. I've been drawn to him since his arrival. Perhaps there's more to those connections than mere attraction. Hera's eyes widened with sudden understanding. The complete prophecy, dragon and thunder balanced by order and passion. Exactly, Aphrodite confirmed. You represent divine order, I embody divine passion. Together we balance him, as he balances Zeus. Is this really the time for relationship drama? Naruto managed weakly, trying and failing to sit up. Both goddesses ignored his attempt at humor. Hera closed her eyes, accessing ancient knowledge from her role as goddess of marriage and divine unions. We need to form a true divine connection, not just lend our energy, but link our divine essences to his. That's dangerous, Aphrodite warned. Divine essence merging has unexpected consequences. More dangerous than letting him die and watching the void consume both realms. Hera countered. Aphrodite smiled grimly. Point taken. Let's do this. Each goddess placed a hand over Naruto's heart, where the void corruption spread most rapidly. They began to glow, Hera with steady golden light, Aphrodite with vibrant rose-pink energy. Unlike normal divine healing, they weren't pushing power into him, but creating connections, pathways between their essences and his. What are they doing? Zeus demanded, momentarily distracted by the unusual energy pattern. Athena, fighting nearby, recognized the ancient ritual. Divine union, they're linking their essences to his. It might purge the corruption through connection rather than force. The Void Lord sensed the danger and lunged toward the trio, only to be intercepted by Zeus with renewed determination. You'll not touch them, the thunder god growled, placing himself as a physical barrier. As the connections formed, something unexpected happened. The divine energies of Hera and Aphrodite didn't just flow into Naruto, they created a triangular circuit, power cycling between all three in perfect balance. Order and passion, commitment and freedom, tradition and innovation, opposites harmonizing rather than competing. The void corruption couldn't maintain itself within this balanced circuit. It began to recede, pushed out by the triangular flow of unified divine energy. Naruto gasped as strength returned to his limbs, the wound closing. "It's working," Hera said wonderfully. Naruto sat up, feeling the connection between the three of them stabilize into something permanent, not controlling or binding, but supporting and enhancing. "That's incredible. I can feel both of you, your essences, your powers." "And we feel you," Aphrodite confirmed. "The connection goes all ways." The Void Lord howled in rage, sensing victory slipping away. "Clever, but insufficient. Your brother still stands alone, unbalanced, vulnerable." As if to prove this point, it unleashed a devastating void blast that sent Zeus flying across the hall, crashing into a column that cracked with the impact. The thunder god struggled to rise, divine ichor flowing from multiple wounds. "He needs the same balance we created," Hera realized. "But his divine consorts are scattered, divided, or at odds with him," Aphrodite finished. "Centuries of discord have left Zeus essentially alone despite his many affairs." Naruto looked at the fallen thunder god, then at the advancing Void Lord. A decision crystallized in his mind. "Help me up," he requested. When the goddesses supported him to his feet, he called the celestial lance back to his hand. "I have an idea, but it's risky." "Your ideas usually are," Aphrodite noted with a hint of her usual playfulness. Naruto grinned. "Keep the connection open between us. I'm going to try something that might help Zeus." He moved toward his brother, the lance glowing with combined energy from his divine circuit with the goddesses. Zeus looked up as Naruto approached, surprise evident on his face. "You should be dead," the thunder god observed. "Yeah, I get that a lot," Naruto replied, offering his hand. "Come on, brother. We've got a void to close." Zeus accepted the help, rising to stand shoulder to shoulder with his twin. "The connection was broken when you fell. We can't recreate it quickly enough." "We don't need to recreate it. We need to improve it." Naruto pointed the lance toward the Void Lord, who approached cautiously, wary of their reunion. "Last time, we connected power to power, essence to essence. But there was still separation, still resistance. What do you suggest?" "Complete trust. No barriers." Naruto met Zeus's eyes. "I found my balance through connection. You need the same." Zeus hesitated, centuries of suspicion and self-reliance evident in his expression. "I don't know how." "Sure you do. You're just out of practice." Naruto placed his free hand on Zeus's shoulder. "Feel the connection I've formed with Hera and Aphrodite. It's a circuit, not a hierarchy. Balanced, not competitive." Zeus closed his eyes, his divine senses perceiving the unique energy pattern flowing between Naruto and the goddesses. Understanding dawned in his expression. "I've been approaching divinity wrong all these centuries," he realized. Maintaining separation, enforcing hierarchy. Power through division versus strength through connection, Naruto confirmed. "Now, let's show this void thing what divine twins can really do when they stop fighting each other." This time, when they faced the Void Lord together, something fundamental had changed. Instead of forcing their powers to combine, they allowed them to flow naturally between them, dragon and thunder in perfect circulation, neither dominant, both essential. The lance transformed in Naruto's grip, one blade remaining golden with draconic patterns, the other taking on the blue-white brilliance of Zeus's lightning. Zeus's thunderbolts similarly transformed, incorporating draconic elements that enhanced their dimensional penetration. The Void Lord sensed the difference immediately. It launched a desperate assault, void energy lashing out in tendrils designed to separate the twins. But the attack found no purchase. Where before there had been a junction point, a seam between different powers, now there was seamless integration. Dragon and thunder flowed together like water and light, distinct yet inseparable. "Impossible," the Void Lord shrieked. "Divine essence cannot unify this way. Maybe the old gods couldn't, Naruto replied. We're something new. He and Zeus attacked simultaneously, their movements perfectly synchronized yet completely different. Zeus attacked from above with transformed thunderbolts that cut through dimensional barriers. Naruto struck from below with the lance, targeting the Void Lord's core. The creature attempted to shift between dimensions, but Naruto's dragon essence prevented the escape. It tried to absorb the divine energy, but the balanced nature of the twins' power proved indigestible. It sought to corrupt their essences, but the circuit they had created with each other, and through Naruto's connection with the goddesses, maintained perfect stability. Caught, contained, and confronted with a power it couldn't corrupt or consume, the Void Lord began to collapse. Its form compressed, darkness imploding inward as the combined might of dragon and thunder forced it fully into a single reality where it couldn't sustain itself. Now, brother. Zeus called. Seal it. Naruto drove the lance into the center of the compressing darkness. The weapon's dimensional properties activated fully, creating not destruction but containment, a perfect prison that existed between realities, accessible by neither void nor divine power. By our combined authority, the twins intone together, we cast you from all realms, bound in the between space, sealed by thunder and dragon until the end of days. With a final shriek of defiance, the Void Lord vanished, not destroyed, but imprisoned beyond reach. The remaining void forces, leaderless and outmatched, scattered and dissolved, retreating to the diminished tear in reality from which they had emerged. Naruto planted the lance firmly on the hall floor, using its power to seal the remaining dimensional breach. Golden blue energy spread in concentric circles, reinforcing reality, healing the damage done by the void's intrusion. As the last echoes of battle faded, silence fell over the Hall of Judgment. Gods who had fought side by side looked around in amazement at what they had accomplished, and at the unprecedented sight of Zeus and his twin in perfect harmony. It is done, Hades announced formally, his staff touching the restored floor. The void is contained, the hall purified. A cheer erupted from the assembled gods, tension giving way to jubilation. The divine twins stood at the center of it all, their synchronized power gradually settling into a more sustainable equilibrium, not fully merged as during the battle, but permanently connected in a way neither had experienced before. So, Naruto said conversationally as gods celebrated around them, that went pretty well, all things considered. Zeus actually laughed, a sound so rare that several minor gods looked over in shock. Your definition of, well, includes nearly dying from a void wound? I got better, Naruto shrugged. Besides, it was worth it to see the look on your face when you thought I was done for. You do care. You're insufferable, Zeus muttered, but without real annoyance. Is this what having a brother is like? Constant irritation mixed with reluctant respect. Pretty much, Naruto confirmed cheerfully. You'll get used to it. The victory celebration on Olympus lasted for days, or would have, if not for the urgent reality that while the Void Lord had been defeated, lesser void breaches remained in multiple realms, including the shinobi world. These would need to be sealed quickly before they expanded again. In the Great Council Chamber, now expanded to include a second throne of equal height beside Zeus's, the twins addressed the assembled gods. The ancient prophecy has been fulfilled, Zeus announced. Dragon and thunder, divided no longer. The cosmic balance begins its restoration. Naruto stood beside his brother, the lance in its ceremonial form, taller, more ornate, a perfect complement to Zeus's master thunderbolt. But our work isn't finished, Naruto added. The void breaches remain in multiple realms, including my shinobi world. They must be sealed before we can truly celebrate. Athena stepped forward with a strategic assessment. The largest tiers exist in 3 locations, one here on Olympus, one in the mortal Greek world, and one in the shinobi realm. Smaller fractures have appeared in other connected dimensions, including the summoning realms. We'll need 3 teams, Zeus decided. I will lead the sealing here on Olympus. And I'll handle the shinobi world breach, Naruto said. I need to check on my friends anyway. Which leaves the mortal Greek world breach, Hera observed. Who will lead that effort? Zeus and Naruto exchanged glances. Together, they decided simultaneously. Explain, Poseidon requested, leaning on his trident. We'll establish a connection between us, Naruto explained, allowing each to draw on the other's power while working on separate breaches. Zeus will link with me while I seal the shinobi breach, then I'll link with him for the mortal world breach. That's unprecedented, Athena noted. Such a connection has never been maintained across different realms. Many unprecedented things have happened lately, Zeus observed dryly. What's one more? Divine teams were quickly organized. Poseidon, Apollo, and several minor gods would join Zeus for the Olympus breach. Artemis, Hermes, and Athena would accompany Naruto to the shinobi world. Hades, Ares, and others would handle the mortal realm tier after the twins completed their work. As the council dispersed to prepare, Hera approached Naruto, with Aphrodite close behind. You're returning to your world, Hera observed, her tone carefully neutral despite the divine connection they now shared. Temporarily, Naruto assured her. I have responsibilities there that I can't abandon. Friends who fought for me. A village that needs warning about these dimensional issues. And after? Aphrodite asked. Where will the dragon god make his home? It was the question that had been hovering unspoken since the battle ended. Though acknowledged as Zeus's equal and given a throne on Olympus, Naruto still maintained his human connections and identity. Between, he answered finally. I'm the bridge between realms, right? So I'll live between them. Time in Olympus maintaining divine balance, time in the shinobi world keeping connections strong. A challenging arrangement, Hera noted. But fitting for one who embodies balance between divine and mortal, Aphrodite added with understanding. Besides, we can visit the shinobi world occasionally, can't we? The thought of these goddesses wandering around Konoha made Naruto both amused and slightly terrified. That would certainly be interesting. Before the conversation could continue, Zeus approached, looking uncharacteristically hesitant. May I speak with my brother privately, he requested. The goddesses exchanged glances but nodded, moving away to give the twins space. Zeus led Naruto to a balcony overlooking all of Olympus, a spectacular view that emphasized the divine city's grandeur. There is something you should know before you return to your mortal world, Zeus began. Something about our separation that I've only recently remembered. Naruto leaned against the balcony rail. I'm listening. When Rhea separated us, it wasn't just to protect us from Kronos. Zeus's expression grew distant, accessing memories long suppressed. There was another threat, one that had specifically targeted divine twins in prior cycles. The Void Walkers, Naruto guessed. Yes, but they served something greater, a primordial entity that feared the power of unified opposites. Zeus sighed, looking suddenly older, wearier. Our mother discovered that this entity had agents even among the gods and titans. She couldn't know whom to trust, so she made the difficult choice to separate us completely. So all these centuries of imbalance were the lesser of two evils, Zeus confirmed. Had we remained together as children, this entity would have destroyed us before our power matured. The separation was necessary, but meant to be temporary. You were supposed to return once we were both fully developed. What went wrong? Zeus looked away, genuine regret in his expression. I forgot. Or perhaps chose to forget. After defeating Kronos, establishing Olympus, consolidating power, the idea of sharing authority became increasingly foreign. The convenience of being the sole fulfillment of prophecy was too tempting. It was perhaps the most honest admission Zeus had ever made, acknowledging his own role in maintaining the separation that had caused cosmic imbalance. The important thing, Naruto said finally, is that we're fixing it now. Zeus looked surprised at this easy acceptance. You're not angry. What's the point? I had a good life in the shinobi world. Made friends, learned values, developed in ways I probably wouldn't have here on Olympus. Naruto shrugged. Besides, holding grudges isn't really my style. The thunder god shook his head in amazement. You truly are unlike any god I've known. I'll take that as a compliment. As intended. Zeus straightened, his moment of vulnerability passing. Now, we have breaches to seal and balance to restore. Are you ready to demonstrate what divine twins can accomplish when working in harmony? Naruto grinned, the celestial lance materializing in his hand. Always. The journey to the shinobi world was different this time. Rather than the disorienting transition Naruto had experienced before, he created the portal himself using the lance's dimensional properties. Artemis, Hermes, and Athena followed, their divine forms adjusting to the different metaphysical properties of the shinobi reality. They emerged at the edge of Konoha Forest, where the void breach pulsed like a dark wound in the fabric of reality. Shadow servants prowled the perimeter, draining chakra from the surrounding vegetation. It's grown since I left, Naruto observed grimly. The breach responds to your divine signature, Athena explained. Your return strengthens it temporarily, but also gives us the opportunity to seal it permanently. Then let's not waste time, Naruto decided. I need to check on the village first, make sure everyone's okay. They moved swiftly toward Konoha, divine speed allowing them to cover ground instantaneously. As they approached, they found the village in defensive formation, shinobi patrolling in tight groups, barriers erected around key infrastructure, civilians sheltered in protected areas. Tsunade herself stood at the gates, directing operations alongside Kakashi and other jonin. She noticed their arrival first, eyes widening at the sight of Naruto flanked by divine beings. You're back, she stated, then took in his transformed appearance, the permanent golden scales, the draconic eyes, the aura of divine power. And different. Long story, Naruto replied with a grin. How's everyone holding up? We've lost no one yet, but these shadow things are wearing us down. Conventional attacks barely slow them, and they drain chakra on contact. Tsunade eyed Naruto's divine companions warily. Friends of yours? Allies, Naruto confirmed. Athena, goddess of wisdom and strategy. Artemis, goddess of the hunt. Hermes, god of travelers and boundaries. They're here to help seal the breach. To her credit, Tsunade adapted quickly to this extraordinary situation. Your timing is good. Those shadow creatures have been gathering in greater numbers since dawn. We were planning a preemptive strike to push them back from the village. Hold off on that, Naruto advised. We have a better approach. But first, where are Sakura and Sai? And the others? Sakura's running the hospital, we've had injuries from shadow contact. Sai's leading an ANBU reconnaissance team monitoring the breach. Everyone else is either on defense rotation or civilian protection. As if summoned by her name, Sakura appeared from a nearby building, stopping short at the sight of Naruto and his divine entourage. Her professional composure cracked for just a moment. Naruto. She rushed forward, embracing him tightly before pulling back to examine his transformed features. You look, well, definitely not human anymore. Thanks. Naruto laughed. I'm still me, just with some godly upgrades. Divine essence fully manifested, Athena observed, studying Sakura with interest. Yet the human personality and connections remain intact. Fascinating. Sakura raised an eyebrow at being analyzed like a specimen. And you are? Quick introductions were made, with Sakura displaying the same adaptability as Tsunade. The group moved to the Hokage's office for a rapid strategic session, where Naruto explained the situation, the void breaches, the defeat of the Void Lord, and the need to seal the remaining tiers. We've identified the main breach location, Kakashi reported, pointing to a map. It's growing at the exact spot where you first disappeared. That makes sense, Hermes noted. The initial crossing would have weakened reality there. How do we close it? Tsunade asked practically. Naruto summoned the celestial lance, which had reverted to its armored form during their discussions. With this, and my connection to Zeus. We'll synchronize our sealing efforts across realms. That sounds complicated, Sakura observed. It is, Artemis confirmed. Such a connection has never been maintained between different dimensions. Which means we need to move quickly before anything can interfere, Athena concluded. The breach is likely to resist our efforts. The group moved out, heading toward the location of the breach. As they approached, Naruto felt a subtle pull through his newly formed connection with Zeus. His brother had begun the sealing process on Olympus, the energy resonating across dimensions. The breach itself was disturbing to behold, a tear in reality approximately 20 feet across, edges pulsating with unnatural darkness. Shadow servants circled it protectively, sensing the approach of beings capable of closing their access point. This is worse than I expected, Naruto murmured. The tear wasn't just a physical phenomenon, it was actively corrupting the natural energy of the surrounding area, creating a dead zone where chakra couldn't properly form or flow. We need a perimeter, Athena decided. Artemis, take the high ground. Your arrows will disrupt the shadow servants more effectively than mortal weapons. Hermes, patrol the boundary, your speed can prevent flanking attempts. The gods moved to their positions with efficient precision. Tsunade organized the shinobi forces as a secondary defensive ring, with Kakashi leading a team ready to provide support if needed. Naruto stood before the breach, the lance shifting to its full form in his grip. I need space to work. This gets a little intense. As everyone moved back, he closed his eyes, focusing on the twin connection. Across dimensions, he could feel Zeus doing the same, their divine essences reaching for each other despite the separation of realities. The connection snapped into place with almost physical force. Naruto gasped as Zeus's thunder essence flowed into him, complementing his dragon nature. Similarly, he knew his brother was now channeling dragon energy alongside his own power. This is new, Kurama commented, fascinated by the divine merging. I can feel his essence, older than me, but similar in some ways. Raw power constrained by will. Naruto opened his eyes, which now flickered with blue lightning alongside their golden draconic glow. He raised the lance, which transformed again, growing longer, its blade separating into a trident-like configuration that hummed with combined dragon and thunder energy. By the authority of dragon and thunder, Naruto proclaimed, his voice carrying divine resonance, this breach is sealed. He thrust the lance into the center of the tear. The weapon's dimensional properties engaged, creating a counter-vibration to the breach's unstable frequency. Combined divine energy, dragon balance and thunder order, flowed through the lance into the tear, forcing its edges inward. The shadow servants reacted violently, rushing toward Naruto from all directions. Artemis's silver arrows cut them down in mid-charge, while Hermes appeared and disappeared across the battlefield, disrupting their coordination. Athena directed the defense with strategic precision, calling targets and identifying patterns. But the breach fought back. Dark energy lashed out, trying to maintain the opening. The void corrupted space around it, making reality itself malleable and unreliable. Naruto pressed harder, drawing more deeply on the twin connection. Across dimensions, he knew Zeus was doing the same, the brothers strengthening each other despite the cosmic distance between them. Something's wrong, Athena called suddenly. The breach is adapting to our approach. She was right. Despite their efforts, the tear had stopped shrinking, its edges stabilizing as it learned to resist even combined divine power. It needs something more, Naruto realized. Not just divine energy, but natural energy, Tsunade suggested from behind their defensive line. The breach is partly in our world. It should respond to our world's power. Sage mode, Naruto agreed. While maintaining the divine connection with Zeus, he reached out to the natural energy of the shinobi world, challenging with the void corruption, but not impossible with his enhanced perception. Sage energy flowed into him, creating a three-way merger, divine dragon, divine thunder, and mortal nature. The lance transformed again, incorporating elements of all three powers in its structure. This world rejects you, Naruto told the breach. This reality denies you entrance. By 3 powers combined, return to the void. The lance pulsed with tripartite energy, golden blue-green light erupting from its blades. The breach shuddered, its resistance failing against this unprecedented combination. Its edges began to fold inward rapidly, the tears shrinking from 20 feet to 10, then 5, then inches. With a final surge of combined power, Naruto sealed the breach completely. Reality snapped back into place with an almost audible sound, natural energy flowing once more through the restored space. The shadow servants, cut off from their source, dissolved into nothing. Naruto fell to one knee, the lance supporting his weight. The triple energy combination had drained him considerably, and maintaining the cross-dimensional connection with Zeus had required immense concentration. You did it, Sakura said wonderingly, approaching now that the danger had passed. We did it, Naruto corrected, gesturing to everyone who had contributed. The breach is sealed permanently. It won't reopen. Artemis approached, looking impressed. I've never seen that combination before, divine twin essence with mortal natural energy. Creative. That's our Naruto, Tsunade said with evident pride. Always finding unorthodox solutions. Through the divine connection, Naruto felt Zeus's acknowledgement and approval from Olympus. His brother had felt the triple energy approach and was already incorporating similar techniques for the mortal Greek world breach. The twins were learning from each other, adapting their methods for maximum effectiveness. As the shinobi forces celebrated this victory, Naruto felt a bittersweet realization settling over him. His 2 worlds, once completely separate, were now permanently linked through him. He belonged to both, yet fully to neither. You're not staying, are you? Sakura asked quietly, reading his expression. Not permanently, Naruto admitted. I have responsibilities on Olympus now. The cosmic balance depends on both Zeus and me maintaining our connection and our respective domains. But you'll visit? The question came from Kakashi, who had joined them. Often, Naruto promised. I'm the bridge between realms, after all. That's literally my divine job description. The dragon god of Olympus, Tsunade mused. Who would have thought our knucklehead ninja would end up a deity? I'm still the same knucklehead, Naruto insisted. Just with better accessories. He tapped the lance, which had returned to its armored form around his forearm. Hermes approached, his expression apologetic. We must return soon. Zeus requires your connection for the 3rd breach, and we can't leave Olympus unattended for long after such a significant conflict. Naruto nodded, knowing this moment would come. I need a few minutes to say proper goodbyes. The gods discreetly moved away, giving him space with his friends and mentors. There were no lengthy speeches, no dramatic farewells, just heartfelt embraces, promises to return soon, and the understanding that while Naruto's path had changed, his heart remained the same. Take care of the village, he told Tsunade. I'll be watching over it from a slightly higher vantage point. Don't get too full of yourself, god boy, she replied gruffly, pulling him into a tight hug. Divine or not, I can still punch you through a mountain if needed. Naruto laughed, knowing it was probably true. The return to Olympus was bittersweet, the 3rd breach sealing almost anticlimactic after the emotional weight of saying goodbye to his mortal friends. Yet as Zeus and Naruto stood together on the main Olympian peak, watching the divine city rebuild and expand with their unified power supporting it, a sense of rightness settled over the dragon god. The eastern quarter is flourishing again, Zeus observed, gesturing to Naruto's traditional domain, which now glowed with renewed activity and energy. Your presence restores what was long neglected. Balance requires both sides to be strong, Naruto replied. Western order, Eastern adaptation. Thunder and dragon. They had settled into their complementary roles with surprising ease. Zeus maintained cosmic order, hierarchies, and traditions, the stable foundation that allowed existence to function predictably. Naruto oversaw boundaries, connections, and transitions, the adaptability that prevented stagnation and enabled growth. Together, they created a dynamic equilibrium that was already healing the damage caused by centuries of imbalance. There will be challenges, Zeus acknowledged. Some gods resist change, and our unified approach disrupts many ancient power structures. Let them resist, Naruto shrugged. The results speak for themselves. Divine energy flows more efficiently, realm boundaries are stabilizing, and even the mortal worlds benefit from proper balance. Zeus smiled slightly, still a rare expression for the normally stern deity. Your confidence is either inspiring or infuriating, depending on the moment. That's what brothers are for, Naruto replied cheerfully. They were interrupted by the arrival of Hera and Aphrodite, who had been overseeing the restoration of several ancient temples in the central district. The goddesses' relationship had evolved into an unusual alliance, still competitive at times, but with growing mutual respect. The council awaits your presence, Hera informed them. The new divine structure must be formally established. And celebrated, Aphrodite added with her characteristic enthusiasm. Balance doesn't have to be boring. The four made their way to the expanded council chamber, where the full Olympian pantheon had gathered. The room itself had been transformed, no longer arranged in a rigid hierarchy with Zeus at the head, but in a circular formation with the divine twins occupying complementary positions within the circle. As Zeus and Naruto took their places, a hush fell over the assembled gods. This was a historic moment, the first formal council under the new dual leadership, the beginning of a restructured divine order. Zeus spoke first, his voice carrying the authority of eons. For too long, Olympus has maintained order at the cost of balance. The void breaches, the realm instabilities, the growing chaos in mortal worlds, all symptoms of cosmic imbalance that we failed to address. Naruto continued seamlessly, with the fulfillment of the ancient prophecy, we begin a new era. Dragon and thunder united, complementary rather than competitive. Order and adaptation working in harmony rather than opposition. The practical implications are significant, Zeus explained. Divine domains will be rebalanced, responsibilities redistributed according to natural affinity rather than historical accident. Connections between realms will be formalized, Naruto added. The shinobi world, long isolated, will be recognized as a sister realm to the mortal Greek world, with appropriate pathways established for necessary communication and transition. The gods listened with varying expressions, some enthusiastic, others cautious, a few openly skeptical. Change never came easily to immortal beings accustomed to centuries of consistency. Poseidon was the first to speak in support. The sea has felt the improvement already. The tides flow more naturally, the creatures thrive, the boundaries between water realms have stabilized. I stand with the twins. As do I, Athena declared, her analytical mind having already assessed the benefits of the new arrangement. Logic and wisdom favor balance over rigid hierarchy. One by one, the major gods declared their positions. Most supported the new order, recognizing its immediate benefits. A few remained neutral, waiting to see how the changes would develop long-term. None openly opposed the twins. The defeat of the Void Lord had demonstrated the power of their unified approach too clearly to challenge directly. It is decided, Zeus concluded. The age of balance begins today. As the formal council dissolved into celebratory conversation, Naruto found himself approached by Hera, who had watched the proceedings with quiet satisfaction. You've accomplished the impossible, she observed. Not just claiming your divine birthright, but transforming Olympus itself in the process. I had help, Naruto replied, glancing meaningfully at her. The connection they had formed during the battle remained, a constant awareness of each other's essence and emotions. It wasn't quite what mortals would call love, divine relationships transcended such simple categories, but it contained elements of deep respect, genuine affection, and complementary purpose. The prophecy spoke truly, Hera said. Dragon and thunder, order and passion, all necessary parts of cosmic balance. Their conversation was interrupted by Aphrodite, who approached with her usual graceful confidence. Are we having profound discussions without me? How terribly unfair. The triangular connection between them hummed with energy, each representing a different aspect of divine reality, together creating something greater than their individual essence. It wasn't a traditional relationship by either divine or mortal standards, but it suited their unique circumstances. We were discussing balance, Hera informed her. And the fulfillment of prophecy. Boring, Aphrodite declared with a playful smile. We should be discussing more interesting matters, like how our dragon god plans to divide his time between realms, and with whom. Naruto laughed, still amazed by the goddess's ability to cut through cosmic significance to personal matters. I was thinking roughly equal time between Olympus and the shinobi world, at least initially. Both need attention after all that's happened. And your divine consorts? Aphrodite pressed, eyes twinkling. Do we get equal consideration as well? I would think that arrangement works best for everyone, Hera said with surprising directness. I have responsibilities here on Olympus that cannot be neglected. While I prefer to travel, Aphrodite added. The shinobi world sounds fascinating, all those intense emotions, passionate commitments, life or death situations. A veritable feast for the goddess of love. The thought of Aphrodite loose in Konoha still made Naruto slightly nervous. Maybe we ease into that gradually, he suggested diplomatically. Both goddesses laughed, aware of his concerns. Their relationship had evolved into something unique, not the possessive, hierarchical arrangements typical of divine unions, but a balanced triad where each maintained their independence while sharing a deep connection. In all seriousness, Hera said, the new divine order requires new approaches to everything, including personal arrangements. Tradition for tradition's sake has proven ineffective. Exactly. Aphrodite agreed enthusiastically. Why should gods be bound by outdated concepts when we literally embody the forces that shape reality? We create our own structures. As long as those structures maintain balance, Naruto reminded them, already embracing his role as guardian of cosmic equilibrium. The celebration continued around them, gods and goddesses adjusting to the new reality with varying degrees of enthusiasm. Zeus observed from across the chamber, his expression thoughtful as he watched his brother navigate divine politics and relationships with natural ease. Later, as the formal events concluded, the divine twins found themselves alone on the central balcony overlooking all of Olympus. The divine city glowed with renewed vitality, east and west in perfect balance, order and adaptation coexisting harmoniously. Do you regret it? Zeus asked suddenly. Learning your divine heritage, leaving your mortal life behind? Naruto considered the question seriously. I haven't left my mortal life behind, just expanded beyond it. And no, I don't regret learning the truth. Understanding who and what I am has completed me in ways I never imagined possible. Even with the burdens that come with divinity. The responsibilities, the politics, the eternal nature of it all. Especially with those, Naruto replied surprisingly. In the shinobi world, I always wanted to protect everyone, to create lasting peace. Now I can work toward balance on a cosmic scale. Zeus shook his head in amazement. Millennia of godhood have made me weary at times, yet you embrace it with enthusiasm. That's why we're balanced, Naruto pointed out. Your experience tempers my enthusiasm, my fresh perspective rejuvenates your approach. Dragon and thunder, working as intended. As if to emphasize this point, golden dragon energy and blue thunder power swirled briefly around them, their divine signatures harmonizing in the space between. The prophecy fulfilled, not as a conclusion but as a beginning, the start of a new cosmic age where balance, not dominance, would define divine order. Speaking of working as intended, Zeus said with unusual hesitation, I've been considering the mortal Greek world. For too long, I've been a distant figure of fear and awe rather than a true guide or protector. You're thinking of taking a more direct approach? Naruto guessed. More like how the shinobi world relates to its spiritual entities. Zeus nodded. I've observed how your connection with mortals strengthens rather than diminishes your divinity. Perhaps Olympus has been too removed, too isolated from those we ultimately serve. Balance in all things, Naruto agreed. Gods need connection to mortality as much as mortals need divine guidance. Otherwise, we become abstract concepts rather than living forces. The thunder god looked almost vulnerable in this moment of reflection. Would you show me how to connect rather than simply command? Naruto smiled, genuinely touched by his brother's request. I'd be honored. And in return, you can teach me the finer points of divine governance that I'm still figuring out. They clasped forearms, divine power flowing between them, not merging completely as during battle, but sharing strength and insight in a gesture of true brotherhood. The cosmic forces they embodied recognized this reconciliation, responding with subtle adjustments throughout reality, thunder less destructive, dragons more present, balance restoring across all realms. In that moment, Naruto understood that his journey had come full circle. From the lonely orphan seeking acknowledgement to the shinobi fighting for his village to the god maintaining cosmic balance, each stage built upon the last, none replacing what came before, all necessary parts of who he truly was. The dragon god of Olympus. The forgotten twin of Zeus. The bridge between realms. And still, at his core, Naruto Uzumaki of the Hidden Leaf Village, the unpredictable ninja who never gave up and never went back on his word. Some things, it seemed, remained constant whether one was mortal or divine. And in that consistency amid transformation lay the true secret of balance. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.